Hello. Welcome back to another great episode of Carpet Python TV on a Friday night. Unscheduled event. And I've got two people here that need to come on the show. Let me just scan across. Hello.
Hello.
Can we all hear each other?
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
And like that, there's action on the there's a few people watching already. So, good evening,
Good evening,
Mr. We were
Evening, Darren.
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Whitaker.
Have you got your little name, your little writing pad with you again tonight? Because we're waiting for the good stuff.
Always have something ready.
Some bill or some invoice or some check.
I got my writing pad.
He's got
It's
his
called breeding season plans.
Oh, look at his.
I'm not sure which page.
That's a novel.
I'm not sure which page to start at first.
Is it sequenced and is it? I see it's an Excel.
Yeah.
What do you use on that? Is that Excel or?
Yeah, Excel spreadsheet. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I like that. That looks very
That's when you know
organized.
you've got a serious problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it goes in groups, xanthics, albinos, peppers, it's just or else you lose track. You end up with stuff everywhere and what males going with what girls, and so it's easier to put it in black and white, use highlights for.
Why do you look?
different
Why do you
things.
look so? You look so. You're sitting very low tonight, Darren. You're like you almost.
That'd be my bloody son playing with the chair, probably.
Yeah,
Oh, I just
there we go. He's back.
There we go.
He's got the composition right. There's people saying hello, Darren. Are you a pilot? Oh, is this? Let me just see. So it's an
Far from it.
so it's an informal. Take the piss out of the opposition night. I'm just I'm neutral. I'm here. I'm South African. I'm almost naturalized. I've been here for probably as long as most people's kids have been here. So I just sound different, you know.
But you don't count. You get no say.
I have no say. I have no say. I have no vote. I have no input into anything. I just organize a nice little show, you know. Let me just check who is doing the. I'll try and be smart ass. I won't be as much of a smart ass tonight. We have had a good week behind us, but let's not wallow in that situation. Here we go. Carpet Python TV. Let me just see. So somebody, I just want to find the group. So it's informal. So shoot ahead. You guys, more neutral than Wednesday. Yeah, it's neutral tonight. It's the neutral zone. It's sort of, we're going to try and be the neutral zone tonight.
World peace.
Yeah. How was the week, gents? Brent, how was your week at work? Is your situations under control? Life's good again or what?
Totally under control. I have like moments of spare time, even brilliant to back to normal living. I even got to go leave my establishment today
Oh,
to go and do some reptile things and get some mesh powder coated for the Goanna house extensions. It's a rare event I ever leave work during trading hours. So it's only ever reptile related that makes it happen. So it was a good event. I have materials to push on and do some building this weekend. So good
Yeah.
week, very good week.
monitor.
Kind of stuff.
Darren, you also went through shall we call it a phase, a monitor keeping phase, and then we sort of all of us have gone through the. Brent's going through the monitor keeping phase now.
Oh, they're pretty cool. Like
Yeah.
when I first got into reptiles, I mostly had lizards and all different types. Small
Bees, mate.
goannas.
Beaties, say it what it was.
100%. I had beardies. They were the first dragon I had, and they're beardies, and I had geckos and blue tongues and shinglebacks and mountain heath dragons, Jackie dragons. Like you just name it. If there was something, it was a lizard, and I had them bred on my own wood roaches. Had 10 tubs of wood roaches breeding. It was a couple of kilos in a tub, non-stop, and plus all the pythons and snakes. And I ended up developing an allergy to the wood roaches,
Oh yes.
and that was the start of the demise for me of keeping lizards. But my Ackies were definitely one of my favourites. I love those little guys. They were just so cool, so active. They were quite interactive.
Yeah.
Fairly tame, except only person who got nailed from it once was Johnny, the beardy vet.
Yeah.
He came over with another mate one day, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'll take the monitors out, play and everything." And he goes, "Oh, do they bite?" I'm like, "No, they're really good, you know." And nailed him straight on the finger. I just wouldn't let go. When they bite, they bite. Hang on, and
Yeah.
just smashed him. I'm like, "Oh well, they haven't bitten me."
Tell me, Brent, just can you put your sound up just a little bit? Possible?
Mm,
Up
that
it.
better?
Go more.
More. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's fine. That's better. So, yeah, Brent, so you got your powder coated done. How far is that cage from... Brent's got this wonderful outdoor enclosure for his big lace monitors. And this is sort of the king rigging out his establishment so he can sit in his lounge and just and survey the area where there's reptiles all around him, you know. So how far is that cage from, so the one that you can sort of just see outside your window when you're watching telly, how big is that cage that you're building?
The initial one was 7 meters by 2 meters, about 2 meters tall.
Yeah.
This one's just a direct copy, same again. So it'll make the whole thing 14 by 2. Just the same thing, mirror image. So
Yeah.
from my chair, I can sort of lean forward and see right down this whole side of my block and see just monitor house.
Just glorious monitor house.
Is it all? So it's all one big enclosure. Are you able to divide it at all in case you ever wanted to?
Separate. Yeah, definitely. It'll be in 2 sections always. So if I need to separate boy from girl or girls from girls or anything, yeah, definitely set up to be separate. And I'm even looking at making on either end a separate area. Richard Diffin's been giving me lots of coaching, lots of tips, and he's telling me ideas about having a separate nesting area for the females, an enclosed area, cool room paneling, hardwood surrounded that can be totally dedicated for nesting for the females, temperature controlled, an area that just the female can access. They can be familiar with it well before breeding season, and can be shut off from the male. So no issues with fighting, biting, eggs being eating, yep, all of that stuff. So something I would certainly look into. At the moment, I'm just trying to build in some heated hides and heated lay box areas into this new building. And yeah, look at some insulated setups later on as an additional, much bigger area just for the females.
Why does Richard Biffin sound familiar? I know that name.
Top bloke from South Oz, very helpful. He's got monitors. He's got a brilliant outdoor monitor setup down there.
Okay.
Big cages, really huge. Some of that Universal Rock backgrounds in them.
They are good.
Extends through his shed and everywhere.
That Universal Rock stuff is that's just spectacular. Like
awesome.
Backgrounds, just awesome.
Yep, he found me on the good old Aussie Pythons forum, a huge sheet of that rock with water feature in it here in Sydney. And he gave me the tip, said, "Hey, check this out on the good old APS." And I sent my dear mum and dad to go and pick it up for me. So I have it hanging up there now, ready to roll.
There's a few people that said hello here. Let me just check. Zach Zamak, hello, Zach. Marty Bahagia asked Bahaja. He's got the silent, the rolling here. He asked if you are you a pilot, Darren? No, he's got the big heads. Yeah.
I wish you'd want to bring something in from overseas.
Reptile keepers. Josh Verstuka says hello. Yes, he says APS, the absolute. APS. Do people still advertise on APS?
They do. There's a huge classifieds on
really?
there. There is some absolute bargains and some people who hate Facebook and eBay that still use APS. So there is some absolute steals on there. If people actually logged in and checked in on it occasionally, you would find some amazing things.
That's crazy that this...
it's been a long time since I logged in APS.
I was like, what?
Trust me, it's crazy. You will be shocked.
Is it a treasure trove for caging and stuff like that as well?
Yeah, all sorts of stuff. There's animals, there's tons of equipment, like that Universal Rock thing. You know, there's places you just don't see that stuff pop up very often. Racking, husbandry stuff. There's tons of stuff on there.
Yeah, I'll have to go and have a look. There's still some. I do when you do a search for specific things. Like I know I did a search for blue tongues, and I've got that one that still has that stupid shedding issue. And they've because there was so much activity on it. That's still a lot of those searches, those search criteria still pop up. It's as some of the first.
Definitely.
Threads that come on even monitors. I'm sure Brent, you would have done searches for information about lace monitors, and that stuff pops up. APS
still threads, and still amazingly people talking about things and asking for updates years and years later on things that were hot topics back then.
Here's somebody that says here. Glenn Thomas says, I believe Tristan at Coogee had a really big fake rock and water feature to get rid of Brent if you want one. So,
look out.
Fake.
He's a handy man, Glenn Thomas. He gave me a couple of vision racks.
Was Glenn not, wasn't he at the Penrith Expo? He had a display full of, he's also into Morelia.
Yes.
Yeah, he had a snake there. Oh, Glenn, you had a snake there. I think it must have been a hypo-bredli jag or something, and I looked at that. It was bright red, and I thought, gee, that was a really nice snake. One of the big tower displays that he had here. He had some nice snakes.
Yep.
Some nice snakes.
Yeah, he had good stuff there. Sold some animals there. Did well, he said.
Yeah, well, that's good. It's good. That's all you want from an expo is to offload some of the excess stock. You don't want to go home with anything.
Sadly, COVID has destroyed it for us all for the rest of the year, perhaps. We'll wait and see. Wollongong are still talking about a late in the year show, which will be fantastic to get everyone back together.
That would be good.
Once China leaves.
Yeah. Once the borders and the planes start going again. Tell me, have you got much stock left from the last season?
Darren will have 1,000 still. I do not have that much. There's a lot of the entry-level animals sold very quickly.
Yeah.
The more expensive stuff is always harder to sell, so takes a little more time. I've certainly have been amazed at how good sales have been during this last couple of months. Yeah. There's just money around. People are happy to spend at the moment. I don't know what's driving it. I suspect government money. Obviously, people bored at home, people with nothing better to do than look at their snakes and want to play snakes because you can't go to the movies, go to concerts, go to the shops, spend money elsewhere. Yeah. So it's been a good time.
Yeah, so I know.
How are you finding it, Des?
Yeah.
Yes, I've had a few snake sales. It's I've kind of, as you know, I had my head buried in my backyard. So once work stopped, I've continuing work at home, but. Yeah, I've still got sales. I met a lovely young girl just the other day. She picked up an albino Darwin. She was only 12 years old, but quite delightful. She'd actually done a bit of research and everything, which is good to see. Often some kids don't do the level of research. And I was just chatting to them and going, "Oh, what are those things the snakes have on their front of their mouth?" She goes, "Oh, heat sensing pits." I'm like, "Yeah, that's it." Talking about frosting food and but it's good to know that. She'd actually done some of that research, and she was really excited about getting her first snake. So it's days like that to me mean everything. To see to be able to sell a young kid that's that passionate about the hobby coming into the hobby and her first snake. To me, it's like it's just the best thing ever. But I'm still putting on. Got a few animals here. I'm waiting to freight in the state. Hopefully soon they'll start freighting more regularly, or the flights will become a little bit more regular, so I can get those out. So
that makes a massive difference. That just the fact that a buyer did a bit of research, and you can hear from the way it makes a big difference from somebody that just doesn't know shit. And you talk to them and you can bounce and you can actually get some feedback off them, and you can get a gauge from how much they know, and they're not asking you silly questions because it makes a big difference. I love people that have done a bit of research, and it makes it so much a more easy transaction. You don't worry about what's going to happen to the animal in that first 2 or 3 weeks if the person's already got a little bit of a background. It's great.
Yep. Yeah, she had a mum and a dad there, and they were asking her a few questions. And mum was asking, "Oh, if we put in a 3 foot enclosure," I'm like, "No, don't do that." Told her why. I went through everything, and she's like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." And yeah, they're really good. And I think they ended up going down to Kellyville Pets to buy a little setup and everything. And she sent me a photo after she's got it because let me know what you put it in and how you've got it set up. And she showed me the little setup and everything. So they
Yeah.
spent their money and they're looking after it right. So I said, "You've got my contact details." I said, "If have any issues or any questions," I said, ask before rather than later. Don't wait till
Yep.
it's too late. Gave
Yep.
her the old speech. Don't handle it every day. Don't do this. Don't do that. And no, she was really good. It's I miss selling to people like that. Not that people like that don't buy, but yeah, just
Yeah.
when they're that young and that keen and that excited about the hobby, it makes you realise what you were like when you were that age.
Yeah. Let's let's have a look here. I just want to make sure, Eddie. There's the people need to. I need to be a little bit more interactive. I feel like like I need to.
Interactive.
There's people here that's always wants to try and get there's viewers that we need to say hi to. So Eddie Darnell, hello. Luke Stratford. Now you guys remember these questions, and we'll try and get to that. So Luke Stratford asked, "Where are you located to keep lace monitors outside?" Yeah, Brent's in Sydney. And then Nissa and Cam, Mac says hello. And then we just talked about the APS. There was somebody else here that said hello. So if we don't get to there's screens everywhere. If I miss you, sorry and welcome. Let me just check. So Heath Maru said hello. Yes, welcome back, mate. Then Glenn Thomas says that was a hypo bredli zebra jag. Yeah, I thought it was something. It was a beautiful snake. Ali Maid, are you working with any small monitor species? We'll get back to that. Remember that. Darren Boswell back from the bush. Mitchell James, hello. Evening, lads. Darren Boswell, much better than any recommendations. I want a snake or got cash waiting. Yes, those guys. Remember, there was a time. There was a time when guys had like a handful of money just spread open like that. What you got? Oh, those are. I hated those ads. Oh. But
And the
everybody
latest
tried
one,
to sell us.
yeah,
Everybody tried to
yeah.
sell a snake though. There was like a thread with 500 ad for 500
Yeah,
posts. You know.
I don't even bother. I don't even bother.
Nope, 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 nope.
Yeah.
If you want to buy a snake, normally at least have done some sort of research,
Yeah.
have an idea of what you want, what you're looking for, how much you want to spend. If you don't know what you want, then I'm not going to go through. Well, yeah, I've got this, I've got that. I get a lot of people asking. It's just
Yeah.
part of the game. But someone messages me with the intention of looking at buying an animal, then I'll certainly chat to anybody. But yeah, when I see those threads, I'm like, stay away from that. You know.
Mm.
Tell me, Luke Stratford says, this is something interesting to talk about. Luke Stratford says, am I destined to move from lizards to snakes? Is it inevitable? Inevitable, LOL. Like, I think there's a natural
Not really.
progression, and then you sort of find what you like, and then you try everything, and then you see what you like, and then you stick with what you like, and maybe
Yeah,
get a few more things down the line,
I
and
think
get
it. I think it changes as well. Like I went through a stage. Uh, my first snake was a diamond. Then I got beardies, and then it just went crazy within the first 12 months. But I've always kept a bit of both. It was only, of course, I was breeding wood roaches myself for such a long time. Every time I clean them, it was like getting the worst hay fever. My eyes would itch and sniffles and runs, and that was what killed it for me. But I probably had lizards for the best part of 10 or 12 years
yeah,
before I decided to move them on. And I do miss them. And when I went through some photos recently of some older stuff, I've still got older stuff, but I can't find it. And I saw those photos of the Akis, it kind of reminded me. But I've kept all different types of geckos, Levis, Casamauis, Amii. Like I've done geckos as well, but I had them for a little while, and they just, I don't know, they're awesome little critters. I love them. Like geckos are really cool. Just not my thing
yeah,
though. I just never found an enjoyment from having them. I bred them all, had babies from them all, but just, I don't know. Like a lot of people get gecko mad and have tons and tons of geckos, and
yeah.
like you look at them and they're fascinating little creatures, but it wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
I much preferred the monitors, and that's why I put out a thing the other day. Like something I'll probably get back into. Might get just a couple of species of smaller monitors like Ackies, or I've always wanted to get the Gould-eye flavirufus, a subspecies, a little bit smaller than the Gould-eye, but
Yeah.
very pretty little lizard, or I suppose the largest of the smalls, or smaller of the big ones, whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
But hard to find for decent ones. I know Andy's got some Sinclair, but apparently he's a hoarder like the rest of us.
Yeah, it's some stuff seem to come in and out of season, and then some of the stuff just totally falls off the map. I remember the Goldie Flavirufus, that's Sandgoaners, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to be. So used to see them in Melbourne in the pet shops all over the place, and then just suddenly, I think there's one guy.
Monitors were crazy for a while. Like
Yeah,
back when I had Ackies, there was monitors everywhere. Like you'd rock up to any reptile show, and there'd always be monitors there for sale.
yeah,
Not obviously not
Cycle.
lazy. Yeah, not your big stuff, but Ackies, Gillens, and all this sort of stuff. Black-headed Tristus, all this sort of stuff would be there. And I can't remember the last time I went to a show. If you're lucky, you might see one person might have a couple of monitors, but they're just not there anymore.
And it's funny, you go to the shows now, like the early, I don't know if it was Penrith or Blacktown, whatever it is now, one of the early shows, and the guys who have monitors are sold out in the first hour. Guys turn up with Tristus, like you say, or Ackies, and bang, 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 Kingies. They're all gone in milliseconds, and they're packing up and going home at 10 o'clock. And you're like, wow, like, there's something going on there that there's way more demand for monitors now than what there's been in years. It's just, I think it's just that cycle. Things go in these 5 or 10 year cycles. No one wanted diamonds, so no one's breeding them. You can't give them away. And then 5 years later, everyone wants diamonds. Bradley's coming back around. There's just this cycle of things disappear, so the love of it comes back, and new people come into the game and say, oh, gee, I really love this wild type diamond high yellow. And everyone's like, yeah, they've been around forever. No one wanted them. You couldn't sell them for $80. And then all of a sudden, I get tons of people chasing diamond pythons, and they're a beautiful species, just as a straight up standard old diamond. And one day some morph's going to pop up with diamonds, and I think they'll explode. They'll go mental in time, but currently just still lurking along as a beautiful wild type anyway.
Yeah, I saw there was a few faces missing though from previous Penrith expos this year as well. There used to be a whole bunch of guys. Do you know the Vision? Vision had like these small, almost look like 2 foot, like fish tanks almost at one stage you can stack Visionariums. Yep. And every year there used to be a group
of collapsible ones.
Yeah, they don't collapse. Yeah, you build them. They come in a flat back box and you build them up. And every year there used to be a bunch of guys that had those stacked up on top of each other at the and they weren't there this year. And those guys always used to have lots and lots of lizards for sale. But I thought it looked odd that there wasn't. Can't remember seeing many. And then you look at the people that had the Parental walking around with that and letting people, and it was the most popular thing at that expo, that big lizard that people could hold and touch, and it does look like a velociraptor. So I mean, it does help that they cool as hell.
Yeah, they're very cool. Yeah, just don't get nipped by one.
Yeah, I saw somebody. I saw there was somebody in Queensland that hatched some. Is it Queensland? I don't know if you saw that there's a guy that one of my let me just see if I can see who it was. Somebody hatched a whole. No, you never hatch a whole bunch of them, but this I'll just scroll through here.
Never much around. I saw Zach Zemek, getting a Heath monitor. I saw a picture of. That looks fantastic, beautiful black-looking animal.
Yeah.
You just don't see a lot around. It's funny how these things just disappear, and I don't know. I guess you turn in different circles. I'm mostly talking to snake people all the time, so there's a whole monitor world out there, and it seems all the snake guys are they're all lots of big blah 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 blah. Facebook's full of the snake warriors, but the monitor guys seem to be this whole separate little community who tend not to big mouth so much. They're not out there, talking the talk. They're sort of in the background a lot more, and a tighter knit community. I think I was amazed at, through the Lacey experience with guys like David Kirshner and Richard Bithen. Fantastic guys, super helpful, give up a lot of their time to help people, who need to learn. Like I was a total newbie come Lacey time.
Yeah.
So those guys were very helpful. And not that it doesn't happen in snakes. I think there just seems to be a lot more conflict in snake world, a lot more competition, whereas the monitor guys seem a bunch of guys that are much, much more keen to help and keen to bring more people into the hobby.
I think with the monitors though, if they don't help each other, they won't have the successes that they've got breeding because monitors are tough to breed. I mean, not everybody, not I've never bred monitors, and I'd like to, but it's hard work. The amount of food you have to the smaller species are probably a little bit more manageable. But any of the larger species, man, that's a job to get them up to breeding, to feed them up and to cycle them and to save the eggs and to give them a nest. But Brent, this year should be your first season,
First attempt, yeah. And I had some good people teaching me, and we had some success. Troy Brommy sent me down his Bells Bay's latest monitor. Absolutely stunning bells, beautiful animal.
Yeah, that's a gorgeous girl.
And just the animal has personality plus. It's such a brilliant animal. It just puts on a show for you, and it's just not scared of people. It's not scared of dogs. It's just such a well balanced animal. And we tried to get something going with my big boy GI. Probably me being new, did a lot of things wrong looking back. Didn't get the animal early enough. Didn't have the right breeding set up where the female could be comfortable to lay. There's a lot of things you need to do very different to snakes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more prep work you need to do in the feeding, and the female needs to be very at home and very comfortable where she's going to lay eggs.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a fantastic experience. I loved just the whole process of it. She laid a few eggs that were terrible looking things and went bad pretty quickly. My boy's young, so it could be him. And I think the girl scattered the eggs, so she wasn't ready yet. She wasn't comfortable to bury them and lay them the way she should have done.
Yeah.
So we'll try again. I think the trick is having the female in a perfect environment for a long period of time and introduce the male. We probably did it backwards, the way we were trying to do it, but we were trying to give the female the big outdoor setup and more areas to lay. Whereas if you try and do it indoors, it's a limited area, but female needs, I think, drives it much, much similar to, the way we pet snakes. We move the boys into the girls setups.
Yeah.
But they are, I love the whole new world of it, learning a whole different way of doing things to what snakes are. It's just a whole new world of knowledge and something to try and achieve. It's not easy. So you've got to go back to the drawing board and do things differently.
I'm sure you saw the David Kerr. For those of you that keep lace monitors and or monitors in general, David Kirshner is one of Australia's, I would say he's probably the leading expert on lace monitors and their natural behavior and their natural, like anything to do with lace monitors. David Kirshner is the man. And he just released over the weekend, I think he's got a channel called Croc Doc 2 on YouTube. And for anybody, I strongly urge any person that is interested in monitors to go and find his YouTube channel called Croc Doc 2, and he's got a whole series of monitor how to breed monitors. Over the weekend, he dropped another one about visual cues with females. I find that stuff fascinating because he's got photos of, since 2006, I think he had photos of females in the same spot doing the same stuff. Did you watch that video, Brent?
I saw it drop on part 4. It's been a long time, since the last part. He's a busy man when he was building that Sydney Zoo, so he's been very tied up for a long time. So it would have been a nice change for him to get that. I haven't seen it yet, but I have
It's
certainly studied in detail his other videos, his nest box video. You watch it and you watch it again, and then you go and start building, and you go back and watch it again and pick up all the pointers. It's super detailed, and the experience of a guy like that, you just whatever he says, you just do it and it works.
there's few guys that I would say you do what they say you do, and he's one of them. But it's amazing. Like they're just attention to detail. You know when you're dealing with somebody that is meticulous with the way that he works, when you can see when he picks up those subtle. It's like what we've talked about before on the show. It's about observing your animals and watching them.
Read the play.
He's got females there that when they start to cycle, the gut gets uncomfortable, so they find these positions on the background, those visual, because he's got a big cage and he's got the universal rocks in the background, and there's a part of the ledge that the females sort of hang head down,
awkward spots,
and the gut sort of can hang in between the two parts of the ledge, and he's like stuff that he's observed. He's got photos over years, over like 10, 15 years of different females in that same position at exactly the same part of their cycle. And you go, but what made him realize that this is something he needs to take photos of? That's how crazy it is that amazing.
I've seen Dave do a couple of talks back in the day. He's come to the AHS and stuff and done talks on his laces, and he brings these movies, and just like you're saying, when he's like, and I'm talking, geez, back then, I don't know, it's probably best part of 10 years ago, he come along and he's done a couple of presentations with the lace monitors, and just the whole, the things they get up to. Like he said, when the female's, in season wants to mate, it's quite funny. The male, he actually had a video, and the male was under his dining room table, lying on there on the floor, and he was going through the process. The female had come out, and she was like, "Hello, boyfriend." She's kind of wandered over and walked past the boy and giving him a bit of a lap and a bit of a lick and a bit of a hello, have a smell of this. And she's done a U-turn and walked back, and he's gone, hello, and followed her back and plonked on the lounge room floor and started mating with the female.
Right in front of him.
Right in front of him. It's funny, it's like it's just unbelievable. But so much of that stuff, his talks are brilliant.
And for people watching now, I mean, we're not talking carpet pythons at all. We'll get to that a little bit later. But he's got the target training videos as well, where people don't realize you can train. I mean, I was fascinated with his work because I was always classically brought up to think that reptiles were they were instinctual. Everything they did was just because of it was behavior driven. There was no thinking happening in their heads. And David really started, and I'm not sure if he was the one that sort of, there are other zoos across the world that especially with Komodo dragons, they do a lot of target training. But I know that he sort of made me aware of, the colored balls that he uses, and, opening the cage on just one side. And it takes a little bit of work to get it done, but you can do it. And that's why he doesn't get bit. Just because he has that relationship with those monitors, and he's taken the time to teach them that today is feeding today, and if I'm standing here, if I've got this color ball, then it's not food, and if I do have this, then it's feeding time, and you can teach them to behave themselves, although accidents can happen. I'm not saying that, but do yourself a favor, go and have a look at Croc Doc 2 on YouTube. You won't regret it. It's a resource. That's why we're putting videos on the internet, so that it's a resource there for long after we leave the industry, that people can still come back and have a look and see, how it's done. And it's like Brent said.
There's proof of that. Yeah. The video he posted of Alex's boy, that he had trained him to come to one end of the enclosure, stand on the box, and then had got him to lift his paw up, and eventually he could open the cage, and when Alex wanted to come out, he would lift his arm up so that David could put his hand underneath his arm and lift the animal up and out. That is an unbelievable, ability to train an animal that skilled to, yes, I want to come out, pick me up and bring me outside. It's just
Yeah.
incredible training.
I think Brent's so happy that we're talking a little bit about monitors.
Well, they're doing the same thing with target training with the Komodos when they first got them down at Taronga Zoo.
Oh yeah.
Chatting to Michael McFadden, who works in Serpentaria down there, they got a lot of their tips and pointers from the SEAL trainers for the same thing. But they were at first training two in the one enclosure. So one would have a different colour ball on the end of the stick compared to the other one, and one had a whistle and one had a clicker.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they didn't get along and ended up having to separate, but it was the same thing. You'd have the ball, you'd put it over there. If it went over and stopped, it then got a treat. If it went over and bit the ball, got nothing. So then they
Mm.
put it around somewhere else. They put a ball, give the click, and it was like there's food. Then when they'd finished, they put it all away, and then they'd spend a couple of minutes time with the animal. So feeding's finished, feeding's done. We'll now give some time. They pat the animals, and they said a lot of their advice came from SEAL training, which I thought was quite interesting.
Mm.
Yeah, very intelligent creatures.
So I'm glad.
Yep.
So I'm glad I'm glad it's not just. I'm glad there are people doing that type of legwork when it comes to animals, and it shows you. It's just that you need individuals that are willing to just think outside the box, and try and observe it, and that's all just from observing. And he might have picked up that, but oh, hang on, this lizard's doing something that seems to be because he knows it. Because he's figured it out. And if you're not open to that observation, then you'll never see it. So it's a good tip to always be watching, and don't just think they're stupid.
No, I think it's like the experience factor is huge, and I see it too with snakes who are much simpler species. Anyone throws a couple of snakes together and leaves them together for the whole season, they'll likely mate. You'll likely get a clutch. It's not rocket science, but as you get more experience, you will see things happen, and you start to read the play much more. And I think that's where the things get a little bit easier, and you can tell what's going on. You can tell the right moves, the wrong moves. Not that it's going to really change the outcome too much. It can certainly help, but you can read what the animal is doing and what they're thinking and how they're feeling, so you can react to that if needed to change things around. And I think
Yeah.
that's where years and years and years of looking over things, and David's probably done that with the Lacey's. You just get to pick up on those tiny, subtle little things that animals do that make all the difference and can take a lot of the guesswork out. And I love at points of the season I can confidently say, I'm loving how that girl's looking. This done. Like, I'm happy with everything she's doing. She'll be going to the heat. She'll be sitting here. She'll be sitting there. All the factors that drop into at the right times, they behave in certain ways, makes it a more enjoyable process when you're on track. When they start doing things in August and they're out there and they're hunting, and I just go, no, that's not happening. She's hungry. She's not grab it. You just
All over.
yeah, you've wasted your
And-
year.
But
Come back next year.
That's right.
but that is one of those things that we've all had, that where you go, your gut's telling you so hard, there's nothing happening here, but us humans keeps trying to see a silver lining somewhere. When we know, if you've done it for long enough, you know that it's especially, and when you're feeling if you're feeling for follicles and they and they feel like they rock hard, you know that those eggs don't feel right. They're probably slugs.
Yep.
But we still wish, and we still go, oh, maybe. And then when the slugs come, you go, oh, well, I knew that, but why didn't you believe it 20 days ago?
I doubt myself every year, and every year I get in trouble off the missus, because every year I'm like, oh, I'll just pair these couple up because this probably won't go and that won't go, and I'm not sure, and I think it's got enough condition, but it maybe needs a couple more feeds, and so I always aim to breed a little bit more than what I actually want to produce, and it backfires every year.
Did you breed too much?
And there, boom, there it is. Yeah, 100%. But yeah, you do, like you like, for doing it for such a long time, I know, I can look at the animals and know when they're ready. I know when to start pairing things up. I know when, just from observing them, what they do. Like, Tony Hall was messaging me the other day about his Antaresia, and it was belly up. Oh, I think it's gravid. I'm like, No, that's just what they do. You know, you pair your ants together, and the females will often sit belly up. Doesn't mean they're gravid. They need to
Yeah.
ovulate, and
It's a good
and
sign.
yeah, but it's a good sign they're doing the right thing. But the average person that sees it for the first time goes, "Oh, they're belly up, they're gravid." And it's just an experience thing. It's not a knocking
Yeah.
thing, but yeah, when you've
But
done it for so long, you just know what to expect. You know the motions.
but then again, on that note though, the books tell us that belly up is one of the best signs to know that. So a lot of people, a lot of people can read a book and it says belly up means the female, like interpret that
It's gravid.
as grab. Like the book might say, uh, belly up is a good indication of gravidity, and a lot of people new to the industry would read belly up is a sign of is gravid.
Equals to.
And then you go,
And how
and
many-
then and you're disappointed that first year when you go, what? Well, it's not. But the book said. Now go read the book
Yep.
again, and then come
Yeah.
back and tell us what the book said. Interpret
Yeah.
the information.
How many females fake it? You
Yeah.
hear it a lot in olives, Anne's carpets, go through all the motions, look right. And how many of us breeders have been sitting there and they've done everything right, they're belly up, I've seen swelling, I'm thinking it's good, they've shed, and I always think, oh, that shed was a little bit early. I'm still hopeful, I think it's right, but the timing, the timing's wrong. You think matings, you can pick the times, and then suddenly they've shed, and then you're waiting 30 days. It's just, no, I can't feel anything, and you're still sitting there at 33, 35, 40 days. She might lay. She's never going to lay. Like, yourself, there's no eggs coming, but you're still counting the days thinking, oh, maybe something will pop out tomorrow.
She's almost so flexible, and she's like a Olympic athlete. The body's so limber, and you go, no, there's eggs in there. There's eggs in there. You see all the other females are stiff as boards, and you can't go near them because they don't touch me, and you're going, the one that you want that's not gravid. I don't know. She's gonna.
You open the door, she almost takes your face off because she's hungry.
No,
It's
it's
like, no, you're gravid.
that's
Go
just
back. You're not getting food yet.
that's just defensive. She's just trying to protect the
That's
eggs.
right, yeah.
We've all been through that with one female. That was me last year with my albino granite girl, and I sat beside her tub waiting with the incubation container. Look here, girl, I'm ready. Like,
Got
when you
the
lay,
spoon
I'll
to catch the eggs.
Yeah.
I'll give you a few more days, and I won't pressure you at all, but just hurry up and lay, please. And she's just sitting there waiting for a rat, thinking, just give me food, you idiot. Like, there's no eggs. Just go away.
How often have you opened a drawer and looked at your adults and gone, oh yeah, she's gravid 100%. You go away, next day have a look, go, ooh, jeez. I don't know now. She looked fatter yesterday. Oh, I don't think she's gravid. Oh, should I put the boy back in? You go away, you come back 3 days. Oh, yeah, 100% she's gravid. And you go, you know damn well in your head, like the animal's gravid, but some days they might be just coiled in a different position and something doesn't look right and you scratch your head.
Yeah. And then they
a
have
couple of years ago with a nice albino girl we had inside in the fancy enclosures, and we had a boy in there. I don't know even what the pairing was, something, and it was just one of those girls. I hadn't really paid that much attention to her, and Sheree says to me, I'm sure she's gravid, and I'm like, I don't know. She's a big girl, I can't really tell, and I don't mess with them that much during season. I just let them be.
Yeah.
And Sheree said she's going to lay, and I'm like, you're an idiot. She's not going to lay. And I remember getting up for work one morning, and I walked past. She's still in the hide and everything, no full lay box. She was on that critter crumble, so I was happy for her just to lay in a hide if she wanted to. And the door to the little hide is just brimming with eggs. Like, there was like a clutch of 25 eggs just bouncing out from inside this hide. I was like, oh,
nice.
Shit. She was actually gravid, and setting up eggs before work again.
Yeah. I had one year. I paired up a couple of normal maxes, going back a while, and put them together. I thought, I reckon I only had them together for 2 days. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to breed in this year. I've got other stuff going on. So I separated them. Didn't give it another thought. You go in there, check water, offer food, see the female on the side, give it food, doesn't want any food. Sat there one day, I was going through cleaning, thought I'll give the female a clean out, took her out. Here she was on a pile of eggs. I'm like, oh, bloody hell. I thought, didn't realise she was gravid. So here I'm thinking she's just laid the clutch of eggs. Eggs were all perfectly fine. I took them out. put them in the incubator. They hatched a week later. So she'd obviously been on them for ages. She had nothing else. And this goes when you look back to Dave Evans talking about dry substrate and how he lost the clutch from moisture and everything. I didn't even know she was gravid. I literally put the male in, didn't think anything of it again. But I'm looking at the incubator going, they can't, that's not right. How have they hatched out? And it took me, 15 minutes of looking at it going, looking at the what I thought was the lay date and the hatch date. I'm like, I must have got the dates wrong. How did I get the dates wrong? And it took a bit for the coin to finally drop. It's like, oh, hang on, she's been sitting on those eggs for all that time, which is why she wasn't interested in food. She was under the paper. So I just peel the paper back, stick a food down. Now I'm not interested, close the paper and carry on, didn't think twice about it.
Yeah, somebody, Ben Moore, asked that anyone notice mating behavior changes around moon cycle? Now, I know there's a breeder over in America, Eugene Bassett. I used to listen to all the old reptile radio broadcasts, and was it on the reptile radio? It was one of those. It was one of those American channels, and they spoke to him. He's one of the big. He was involved in the first chondros. When they, breeding one. He was with the Houston. I think the Houston Zoo. Like he's got a business called Ophidia Projects or Ophidia something. But he does like 80,000 snakes a year, something. One of those guys, one of those big old timer. And he always used to say, like the moon. Is there a moon calendar? I think he used to refer to it as like the moon cycle calendar or whatever. And he reckons,
Lunar.
he reckons you could look at that and he could tell you exactly what's going to happen with these snakes. He sort of correlated his breeding behavior. With the moon cycles.
The first person that alluded me to that in my very early stage was actually Brian Champion. And that was, that'd be close to 20 years ago, I suppose, when I first kind of met Brian and, talking to him about chondros, and we were chatting about the weather and just in snakes in general. I was over at his house and, I was still fairly young and new to it all. And he goes, oh, we were talking about breeding. And he goes, oh, yeah. He goes, as soon as there's a storm front coming or a pressure change, he goes, just open the windows. And he said, I guarantee you come back in. He goes, all the chondros are locked up. Yeah. And I'm like, really? And it makes sense because it's the same thing with fishing. When you look at fishing, you've got different pressure cycles and moon phases and changes. And depending on what it is good or bad for fishing. I thought, it makes sense. There's an atmospheric pressure change that they can sense moisture in the air, whatever it is. And it triggers and cycles them into breeding. And I actually followed his advice. And the following season, it's like, oh, a storm coming. And I'd open my windows up at home when I had the animals at home.
Yeah.
And bang, you go at that night, and sure enough, there'd be hookups all over the place. Yeah. So, and I've lived by it since then. So I definitely 100% the weather and low and high pressure systems, everything 100% has an effect on breeding, in my opinion, anyway.
I'm just trying to get this Eugene Bassett show. Here we go. I'll just copy the link and put it in there so people can go and watch it if they feel like watching it. By the way, that Parenti, the guy that's breeding the Parentis, it's called the Parental A. So if you want to go and check it out, Brent, maybe go and have a look because there's baby Parentis. It's always a good thing to chase or follow up. I know a lot of guys. What's the status of, to just bounce back, what's the status of Parentis in New South Wales? Are you guys allowed to keep them or what?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Class 2 restricted license, but yeah, definitely on the books here in New South Wales. Melbourne's still no go.
Are they actually allowing them to come into the state?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't know of any restrictions other than what we had with green trees for a little while, which since has even been knocked on the head.
Yeah.
Obviously, still only Aussie animals to be interstate transferred, but I'm not aware of Parenti restrictions though.
Okay. So it was just the green pythons that was you needed to have a whole pedigree on them.
Okay, I just over that. But that's gone.
Okay, I just posted there. Not sorry to interrupt you, mate. I just posted a link there for Blog Talk Radio with Eugene Bassett. So you might find something in there, Ben. I remember finding the lunar cycle is what they call it, and it'd be interesting to see if it works. I mean, that might be something to add in on the start following the lunar cycle now with this breeding season just around the corner. Maybe there's stick it up on the wall while you're in the snake room and see if there's a correlation with the females while you guys are now early season breeding. Get a lunar. You'll be able to get a lunar calendar on your phone, and just take notes. I mean, you guys might be able to tell us after the breeding season if there's any legitimacy to behind that. But I mean, if the big guys over in the US are saying, well, there's a correlation, and they've got, and I know Eugene Bassett's one of those meticulous record keepers as well. Like he's got breeding records for the last 40 years for his snakes. That's how everything. So, and he says there's a definite lunar pattern.
I'll have to monitor the 3 pairs I've got going this season.
Make another column next to your charts there. For the
lunar cycle, weather, temperatures, pressure system.
Add a little bit of extra work here. Let me just get. So here's somebody. Yep, Darren. I pair up snakes just before going chasing Stormfront theory. Yep, and there's a full moon tonight actually. So it's probably the start of the lunar cycle now. The start of this. And who else? Somebody else said. I was listening to a show with Peter Birch on Morelia Python Radio. We'll have to talk about that later because that's going to be an event tomorrow. That big event, big smackdown's happening tomorrow.
Big wooden spoon to stir up the Yanks.
But Peter Birch was saying that Peter Krause in the early days was saying that black-headed pythons that struggle to feed, or no, who was it? John Montgomery rang him one day and said he was having issues with black-headed pythons and breeding them. And John Montgomery just rang him out of, just lived a few minutes drive away. And he rang him and said, look, try offering those baby black-headed pythons food now with the storm front coming in. And they all ate. So that's something that I thought I'd mentioned. I heard that and I thought I have to tell you, Brent, because I know we've had our theories with the blackheads and that they can be little bitches to eat.
Yep.
I've
heard that theory, and Emma Zemek said that same theory about some hatchies she had, just carpet pythons that would not eat, struggling ones, and big storm coming in, offer food, and many of them took food, which supports the theory. I'm sure there's many things that drive them, way better. And you think, why would a snake eat when it's about to rain and be cold? You think they want to eat and be in warm, but many things drive these animals that we don't understand. So if you can get an animal that's not eating to eat by any means, I don't care what you need to do. There's
do whatever you need
to work. Yeah. You make it happen. It's that simple. You gave me that idea with them, the super low hides with the animals. Bang, 3 out of 3 eat and are eating perfectly ever since. So there's whatever it takes to do, you just do it.
I think you think with storm fronts, so there'd be a lot of animals coming, like frogs would come out, and animals would move because there's rain, and it could be the only time that they could get a fresh drink. There'd be a lot more rodent activity around that.
BHPs that are scavengers, basically. They're looking for the skinks on the floor or frogs to eat off the floor. Maybe that's the time they're active. Green trees, you get rain or spray the tanks, they light up. It's a time to get out and do things. So possibly that rain brings, like you say, the movement that brings food.
And remember a few years ago as well, like, what did I tell you? Remember I said you contacted me one night. They said and I told you to just spray the snakes down, and they started mating. Remember what was that? We were talking about the carpets, and somebody was asking me. He said, "Oh, the male's not really that interested in stuff." And I told them, go in there and hose the tank down. And as soon as the humidity went up, the snakes started mating. So there's definitely something to it. I mean, there's all these little tricks and things that you don't always, rain, water, moisture, storm fronts, tornadoes, hurricanes. Don't go and do that. Somebody said,
Brian Bessie.
Somebody said, I think it's Brian. I think it's Josh Vastuka said, rain seemed to be a key to my bluey pairing last year too. They only locked twice, either during or after rain, whereas the days I attempted a pairing without rain, nothing happened. So that's interesting. We didn't think we were going to make sense here tonight. We're just going to talk some garbage, and then we're having a meaningful conversation. I like it.
Or Darren has another theory. He just pairs up 300 females and gets 100 clutches. blames
jeez,
that on the
my
lunar
odds aren't
cycle.
that bad. Go easy.
And then says to Ness, "Oh, Ness, the moon was in the right angle, over Jupiter, and got this reflection off Pluto, and suddenly there's another 100 clutches. I can't believe it. Every year
That's
it
going to be
happens.
the end of you, Darren. It's going to be the end of you, mate.
Oh, yeah.
Ness will be the end of you. You pull that stunt again, mate. Secret's out now. Oh, look, there's a hole behind you, Darren. I see a spot where you could fit another snake.
I know. That's
Hang
so
on.
I'm making room. I'm making room for more.
When you sort of look at your kids' rooms and you go, but do they really need a room for themselves? can they not share a bunk bed and then it opens a little bit
Well,
more
I said we
space?
could bring them out of their bedrooms and we could put a sleeping bag on either side of our bed. That gives me 2 more rooms. Like, come on.
Look, Darren's old enough now. He could fend for himself. Send him out to the wild, mate. He's plenty old enough.
Yeah. Oh, while I'm doing some renos in the backyard, I might just throw a couple of tents up.
Oh, you could. You could. Those retaining walls, just extend them a little bit higher.
Yeah. Do you want to go camping for the next 5 years?
They'd love that. There's a river next. There's a pool there that you can wash off. You never even have to come back into
shower
the
in the pool. Yeah.
Sure,
Just think
sure,
you're living next to the
doghouse.
beach. There'll be salt water and everything. You'll be all right.
oh, that was just a bit of stupid banter. I like it. So tomorrow, I didn't want to. How long have we been going for? About 48 minutes. So what have you got planned for the rest of the night? You guys doing some feeding, chilling? Yeah, Darren, you said you had to feed a few males. How many babies? How many do you have to feed? Just for interest sake.
5?
Five racks? Yes,
Yeah.
5 racks.
Some of those have been done.
Yeah.
All of those need to be done. There's another 2 of those in that room, and there's another 3 melamine hatchie racks in the other room that are all full. That's another, I don't know, lots. Yeah, there's a few.
Somebody
But
said
luckily though,
Yeah.
most of the adults, or that's some of them, most of the adults are cooling now. I keep feeding them right up until, the males have gone off their food, and you normally tell the males they'll be hunting around their enclosures, and you go, "Oh, do you want to feed?" And they go, "I don't want that. Something else I can smell in the air."
Yeah.
So I'll normally feed my girls right through. I know a lot of people have this thing of, it's the 1st of April, stop feeding. Well, that's great, but if we've still got 30-degree Celsius temperatures through all of April and all of May,
why not?
then just keep feeding. Like
Yeah.
I don't go off a set day or time. I go off temperatures.
Yeah.
So unless we're getting cold nighttime temps, why try to cool? You're just fighting it. The whole
Darren Boswell had some interesting information here for you guys. This is This needs to be verified and fact checked because I don't know. If you use newspaper, use the horoscope pages for you. For your Pisces snakes, for your Pisces snakes, you are in for a big night of mating with the moon in Scorpio. Oh God! I try. So for the Pisces snakes, you're in for a big night of mating with the moon in Scorpio. Okay, so Pisces and snake. Okay, I'm not sure if that was. I think that might be fake news. We'll have to.
We'll have to check the birth dates of the snakes to see whether they're a Cancer, a Pisces, a Leo.
Yeah. That's what I take away from that.
For some reason, I think it's going to be a very narrow spectrum of
very
when
narrow
the snakes
field.
are hatched.
Yes. You might get a Pisces Bradley. There won't be too many others that are going to come out of there. But.
Yeah. Tell me, and Brent, what have you got? Cherie does all the feeding these days, or do you still dabble in a bit of the special feeding?
I feed everything. Cherie does all the cleaning, which
cleaning.
is the awesome end of the spectrum. So, I just get to
got
feed.
it easy.
It's unreal. I love it. It's a beautiful setup. The feeding I enjoy.
Hashtag got the life.
Yeah.
It's a bloody good life. Someone has to do it, and I'm going to continue doing it. So wait in the queue if you want this spot. But it's awesome. I love feeding animals. So this time of year, obviously the hatchie's still pumping away, trying to get some pain in the ass ones going that don't want to go still.
Yeah.
But the adults, like you said, that's most of them are done with. Some of the bigger girls, I'll still give a small rat to. Some of the ones I'm still growing up, you're still feeding, and the Bredli, it's people stop
they still
feeding
go.
them, but Bredli's miles away, so I'm still smashing food into Bredli. They're still on full rage attacks of give me everything that moves, So it's still plenty of feeding to do all year round. I don't think there's a time of year you get to not feed anything. It's just less, and Cherie loves this time of year because all the adult stuff, it's not trash, It's not every tub filled with poop, so there's certainly less cleaning time.
How much Antaresia are you doing this year, Brent?
Normal. I don't have much. I have one rack of V35 rack of ants, so I don't know. There's 10 girls in there, maybe.
Yeah.
There's not a huge amount of things going on there.
Because
I'd like more. I'm not in a rush with any of that stuff. So I know Faye Antaresia has some ants I really want. And,
she has some gorgeous
what do you want? Let's talk about it. What addiction? Let's talk about it. We'll talk about the addiction. What do you need?
What you want? Brown snakes?
What are you urging? What's your urges for?
She has some patternless T+ stuff that's beautiful.
Yes.
Stunning stuff. There's a couple other little projects I won't give away too much because Faye probably kill me. That she's working on and has made heads for and things that you'll get Faye on the show in time, I'm sure. And
hang on. I think we do have good news, Darren. You spoke to her earlier today. It was actually in conversation with Faye. I haven't seen her tonight. She didn't know that she was watching tomorrow. So I did have a chat to her because we know the topic came up the other night. Why don't we have female? I think it's very I don't know how you guys feel, but the fairer sex is very unrepresented in the industry when it comes to this type of podcast. I can't remember ever hearing a lady talk or go on I don't know, female go. I know we talk reptiles, it's females and males, so I can't remember hearing a woman go on to any of these shows. So it'd be maybe it is time that we have so I reached out to Faye. Faye actually made it, and I said to her, "Look, I want to ask you something." She said, "No way." And by the end of the conversation, I think I had her sort of almost there. And then Darren had a chat with her as well, and I think she's coming on. I think the 26th.
I just told her straight. I just said, you're going on the show, don't argue. I said, I'll go with you on the show. That way you'll feel better. She's like, oh, okay.
Oh, was that so? I was probably there for half an hour trying to convince her, and all I needed was say, hey, Darren, just get on her and just convince her to go. But I think that's going to be a good show. I mean, there are very humble people in the reptile industry as well that do not think of their work as cutting edge. And I've not seen T positive patternless beat the ones that she makes.
Yep.
Maybe I'm just partial.
Things she's worked on for years, and I think Faye just loves going about her own business and breeding her animals. She's got a fantastic collection. I've never been to a place, never seen her stuff. I've only seen pictures she sent me. She probably forgets how long she's been in it, and she doesn't think she's anybody special. But she's got some beautiful animals there that a lot of people would love to own, and she just likes making her own stuff. She's not out to compete, not out to make any new groundbreaking things. She just loves what she loves. Loves her ants. She's dreaming of the day the pied ants get out there, and then she wants to do some pied work, and she's got other dreams, and I'd love to see her achieve the things she loves. She's a great person, awesome to talk to.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're being a dickhead, Faye will tell you are a dickhead. There is no mucking around with her. It's straight up and down, and that's how I love them.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah,
we had it as it is.
Yeah, we had a great, and other half, Garth. Garth's a legend in the reptile keeping in Australia.
Absolutely. And a gentleman as well. He's a fantastic bloke. So is Faye. Like, they have done so much for me when I was not well that I could never repay what they've done for like my wife and me when I was either on crutches because I couldn't walk with arthritis, or when my head was exploding and depression, and the support they've got for me. It's more than I could never repay what she's done for me over the years.
The same with me. I mean, I've been through a lot of. We all know I've been through a lot of issues as well. And she's always, like she's always, even from APS days, she was she was the one that was constantly abused on the APS forums for trying to be neutral. And I don't know anybody more neutral, and she could be a judge. I reckon she'd make a really good judge, because she was in the line of fire all the time on APS. She survived that, and I think she was always fair. She's one of those few people that are fair. And like you say, if you do wrong, if she doesn't agree with something that you are doing, that she's told me off before, and not many people do that. And I take it I take it serious. If she's,
and you deserved it.
Yeah. I don't always deserve it, but under those circumstances, I did deserve it.
If Faye told you off, you deserved it.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah.
And you're not going to argue with her until you didn't, because she'll tell you you're wrong.
Yeah.
She's 4 foot high, but she'll smack the black off your ass. Like, you do not mess with her.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll see. I told her we can she can dim the lights, and she can have mood lighting on and stuff. She feels, if she's a little bit weary about coming onto the camera, but we'll work through it. We might have just a early start and just see how she feels in front of the camera, and we'll ease her into it. And I don't like anybody doing anything that they don't feel like doing on this channel, so we'll make it. But I think she's got a lot of. We can talk a lot about the historic side of it. I want to cover some of the APS days, some of the stuff that they've been involved in, how the hobby's grown, because she would have a fairly good idea of who was the who and who did the what's in the industry as well over the years. Yeah.
Very experienced.
It's been around for a long time, Faye. I've known Faye for ages. Back in the day when I used to wholesale reptile products in New South Wales for Tim at URS. At any time I used to go down the South Coast, and that was back from 2004. I started doing that, distributing for URS, and I would go down to Faye's place. Any time I was down, I was like, oh, yes, come in, have a coffee, go down there and chat with her and chat to Garth and sit down and catch up and say hello, just great people and straight up honest, good friends.
Yeah. Mark Taylor also says, I think she'd be awesome, such a humble lady. Yes, and Mark, we'll have you on the show as well at some stage. Thank you. Thanks for offering. Christopher Sankey in the house. The man's got back to tattooing this week, so the financial pressures are lifting. Life's good again, I'm so glad. Glad that things are starting to ease up now across Australia. Flights are starting to go. Holidays, people can start planning holidays. I don't know how close you can get to as long. I don't know this COVID thing. I don't know.
Start getting the rest of my sleeves done finally. Yes.
Oh shit! I can see what's happening
here.
Your
sleeve, mate. I thank COVID for the time Christopher Sankey had off work to complete my painting.
Have
COVID great joy
of
finishing the artwork.
Have you seen the final work yet?
I haven't. I've seen some updates, and I'm looking forward to just seeing it finished.
Perhaps
I see it with my own eyes.
I reckon it's going to be the most beautiful thing that you've seen ever.
I did get a little sneaky peek.
So Chris, this is what Chris does. He's got verses.
We were talking about something. He goes, I'm doing Brent's painting. And he just sent me a photo. Like, it was just the start of it, and I just gone, holy shit! Like,
he's talented, mate.
And I told him, I said, mate, don't send me any more pics. Honestly, because it looks, mate, I'm telling you,
brilliant. I really wanted to get it finished, done. I wanted to see the finished thing. I didn't really want to.
You shouldn't see. You should not be shown the final. Chris, don't show him this final result.
I haven't seen it for a while. He showed me a couple of little things. He still had some detail to finish and bits. So I've seen a lot of the work. But when he first showed me just that eye, the start of that thing, that I was hooked. That was it. I was done. I was like, wow. That's just the
man certainly has a talent.
Brilliant.
Look, He did ask me one day. He said, like, yeah, because I've been in your house, so I know your sort of your colors, your
See what he's written.
you know
Arsehole's painting.
the color schemes. I know you well, Brent. So I think he contacted me because he knows I've been there, and he
Yep.
wanted me to just ask me about. I hope I don't get him into trouble now, but he asked me about a color, like this color or this color, and I was looking at him going, yeah, I'll probably go with that color. And then he like did that. And he's so good, he went and he changed the color and he
Yep.
showed me and I
And
went,
then
oh,
changed it
okay.
again.
And then
Yep.
he, I don't like
Pink
that.
lace monitor.
And I said, oh, you need the scales. Oh my God. I also saw that eye area and I was like, do you love doing all those scales yet? And he's like, I want to throw this thing out the window.
I almost feel sorry for Christopher. This is he was been going for a while, and Chris
Oh,
come up with a number of we're going to do this, and there was some snakes and money, and there's all sorts of like,
yeah.
none of these deals are simple. And I doubt now Chris would ever
Ever do
paint
that
this
again.
painting for what he's done. I think he spent about 75,000 hours on this thing,
Yeah.
and I've just seen the changes he makes. Like you said, he's done this, and then I've changed this, and then I didn't want to say it. He said it. Luckily, I liked it before.
Yeah.
Let's change it back. I'm like, cool. Let's change it
Yeah.
back. So he changes things back, and
But
it's
but
he's an artist.
a painting like that, you can't just do a little bit of scale. It needs to be balanced. So if you do something on this side, then you need to be doing it on another. It needs to be balanced. So if you've got too many scales on this side of the animal, then this side looks odd. So it's about just getting. I mean, this is just my this is my depth about the depth of what I know about art. But there, like you could see, that needs scales here. It needs. I haven't seen it for a lot. I haven't seen it for a while either. I think he asked me about the background because I said, your couch is this color, and so maybe I'm not sure where you're gonna. I'm not sure where you're gonna have it in the house. But I think
It was funny enough. It was going to be in the bedroom right here on the wall.
Oh,
That's
you
where I
would-
initially planned it, and then I saw it, and I went,
No,
This
that-
So
to
many
go in the
comments just
lounge room.
went through my head then when you said that.
above
And
your
they're not permitted to be spoken in
that
public.
wall, that wall behind
You
behind your couch, I reckon,
Yeah,
there where
that's where it's
everybody
going
can
now.
see it.
This
Fuck.
thing turns so brilliant. I was like, when people walk into my lounge room, they need to see this on the main feature wall. It needs to
Yeah.
be the spot. And I never thought that Sheree would approve it. That's why I thought it'd be fine in here.
Yeah.
Love of my life above my bed, sort of thing. And then it's bang. It's must go in the lounge room. Sheree said,
Okay.
I'm not an arty person, but when I saw this, I knew this
Ah.
was the greatest piece of art I'll ever own.
It's like you own the biggest lace monitor in the world. It's that good. You look at it,
Yes.
but
You-
but
do-
but, but
Do
I
you have
had
any pointers, Brent, on how you can actually get your missus to approve? Because
oh you- but
obviously, I had a lot of years of
Get
game
less
fishing,
snakes.
and my first marlin I caught, I actually had it molded, and I have a mold of a marlin, and it's currently hanging over our bedroom. It didn't normally live there until I brought reptiles back here, but I said it'd make a great piece above the lounge. Ain't happening. No way, not in her lifetime. Is there any way you can convince them? Is it a
But-
bribe you went
but-
through to get it to hang on the wall?
but Darren,
My best piece
That-
of advice for you, Darren, sitting there with 5,000 snakes sitting around your
get rid
breakfast
of some
table,
snakes.
mate, I wouldn't be criticizing anything about but your wife's acceptance of jack shit, mate. Like,
You know,
talk about dream wife. You're lucky you're not dead.
The
Yeah,
thi- the-
that's true.
the thing is with that though, Brent. The thing is with that painting will be like that card that that card that you
Oh, yeah,
that it would be like that. It's a one-off
it's a one of
in
one.
the world,
Salute.
a one-off Christopher Sankey piece of art. I mean, there's
Yep.
I don't think you can put a dollar. And I'm not, I'm mates with Chris, but there's no. That's your art that you'll have with you for the rest of. I mean, you can't put a dollar value. Look at that Darren sitting there. He's going, how can we make this happen? Which of these silver peppers are going down to Melbourne? But it's the same
like
with
that
the
animal's super special to me. That lace
Yeah.
monitor is, I love that animal. If
Yeah.
it's my probably very prized possession. So to have someone like Christopher paint it is like he's a top end tattooist. You know, if
Yeah,
you look at his Instagram, he's got 5 billion people follow him, and his artwork he goes to art school, I believe, as well as doing tattoo work. So having someone that talented make something so beautiful of something you love, it's always going to be a very special thing.
So where in your body have you got space there for those tattoos, Darren? Because I know that you're thinking, yeah, finish. It's
Got
somewhere.
another arm, Darren.
There we
There you
go.
go,
On
I'm
the
finished.
That's
That's Dylan Webber, that one.
yeah.
That's my Marlin.
But doesn't Chris
This
know?
arm's next.
Doesn't Chris know that guy that did that tattoo? Didn't
Yeah,
he
they
work for
actually
him?
used to work together
Oh
when
yeah.
when Chris was up in Sydney. So, and
Small
Dylan's
world.
the same. He's a exceptional tattooist. Like his work is, look him up on Instagram. I think I looked the other day. I think he's got like 140 odd thousand followers on Instagram, and he loves doing portrait work. And yeah, he's a mad keen fisherman as well, which was how I got in, because I said I wanted to do, you know, my tattoo is bits of my history, my past, and you know, there I have what I have for varying reasons. Like even the boat that I have up here was the boat that I actually used to game fish on, and the name of the boat is my daughter's name. I've actually had her name put on the boat. You know, on my forearm will be a wreck, and that'll have my son's name on it. So there's family, you know, I'm involving family and everything in it. But yeah, it was his passion of fishing and me wanting game fishing done on my arm that I got in to him, because he's very, very hard to get into because he's quality. And I actually only messaged Chris. We were chatting about some stuff, talking generally, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'm thinking about getting a snake sleeve done. You know, the two main facets of my life.
Talking
know?
about stuff, yeah. Okay, yeah, whatever.
And yeah, he's like, so I kind of giving him a rough idea on what I would like to do on this arm.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I've got stuff he wants, and he's got skills that I could use.
Of course.
It's funny because that's how that painting began. Was Christopher was telling me, you know, we were talking about big lacy over the arm, you know, the big head here and the breast over the body, and it was going to be an epic tattoo. And I just watched out. I was scared, like I can't do it.
But that big painting, you'll always be able to see that. You don't cover that with a shirt. That's always there. When you walk in the house, when you walk in your house, you'll be walking straight into that, and you'll be seeing that and going, yeah, that's how I roll, you know.
Yep.
But he, you know, Chris said to me as well, and to say, you know, I'm a wuss as well. He said to me, because I've got these old tattoos that I need to be topped up, and he said, no, I'll do them. So he's willing to help me cover these, and I'm just nah, I'll go to my grave with these shitty tattoos, but I'm not getting any needles on my arms ever again. Sorry, it's you know. Sorry, mate. Even the big, he said he could even tattoo the snake, you know, the logo somewhere on me. And I'm like, nah, can't do it. I'd rather take a painting of that somewhere. But
yeah, they don't exactly tickle, do they?
Nah. It's not something I'll ever get done again. But I think I'm sure you'll be thoroughly pleased, Mr. Smith.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I can't wait, and it's close. Let's just say, without saying too much, I believe very soon I will be in heaven.
And he'll have a lace monitor picture.
Yes. I even thought, I sort of ran the idea past him. You should maybe even do something like maybe a print on a T-shirt. You could do all this stuff with that. You know, you just need to get somebody to take a nice. You know, you could that'd be a. I'll talk to you afterwards. But I thought that'd be a nice addition to the KHP range.
Yes,
of
the
merch
GI range.
Yeah. So we've got this situation happening tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Are we ready, gents?
For the Yanks? we might talk about some albinos.
About some albinos. We like some albino. Oh yeah. So I'm gonna try and be neutral with this whole situation. We did lay down the challenge. I laid down the challenge. And I said I've got a secret army. I've got a secret, my crack team of specialists here that I'm gonna deploy on your asses. And they were all keen and excited about it. So. People should watch tomorrow. It's starting at 11 o'clock. While we're here, I'll probably contact you guys about a half an hour before 10:30. We'll strategize.
That's enough time. I've got enough time to do a few loads of bricks into the backyard.
So tell me, with all that hard labor that you're doing,
Yeah.
he's nice and stiff, or is it a good workout?
The,
Do you
the
crack
old the old
sweat?
forearms are feeling it today. From I don't know. I didn't do too many today. Probably a bit over a pallet of bricks. I moved out the backyard. There's another 3. There's 5 pallets about to move out the back.
Oh,
But the last few days has been jackhammering up concrete to replace plumbing for the pool piping. So it's been my best friend's been a shovel for like 3 weeks. I've dug trenches for brick walls and stuff and excavating and
yeah.
the worst thing is when you go, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to run power here, and you work it out in your head. I've got 1,000 drawings or I've done measurements and designed it all.
Yeah.
And I had to dig this massive hole. It was probably about, when I say massive, probably 1,200 deep. It's all clay. It's like digging into stone. I dug it all out and brought the power through and ran it up the wall and everything. No worries. Filled it all back in and then realised, I forgot to bring the copper piping through for the water. So I had to dig it all back out again. I'm like, oh. But, it is what it is. If you're not working, it's just my labour, saving me.
So tell me, are you getting brownie points with Ness for doing all this stuff, or is this for you?
I have to get some sort of brownie points from all this.
Okay,
no,
okay.
It's just something
okay.
we wanted. It's just something we wanted to do for a while.
Yeah.
So it's doing the whole backyard. But me, I can't just do the basics. Like I can't just go, oh yeah, if I just do this, I probably could have half the cost of what I'm doing, but. Running all the lighting around the fence line into the garden beds, and I'll have lighting coming up from around the pool. So once the pool's all paved, there'll be lights in the grounds. When it comes on, it'll light up the fence, and some mood lighting sort of thing, and lights in walls, and all this sort of stuff. So it's hard work, but I actually enjoy the demolition side of it. I actually enjoy going. You got to jackhammer this concrete slab out. It's like all day long.
All the manly stuff. Yeah.
Oh, it's just. I don't know. It's like taking your frustrations out. It's like I'm gonna smash that out. But shoveling it all out, digging it all out, clearing it all out, and then when you actually see, we had to replace all the plumbing down the side of the pool because it was all old, and we actually found some damaged pipe. It wouldn't have stood up to the pressure test. So to actually dig it all out, the plumbers actually come in and done the plumbing. Yeah. And to actually see it finished and almost at the stage where I can start to backfill it and rebuild. All the hard work is in the preparation, the excavation, and getting it ready for everything to go forward.
Yeah.
Once it starts, my mate's a brickie, he's coming on Tuesday, so they got a couple of days of work just laying bricks. And once that all starts, everything will start to fall into place then. So, I'm looking forward to it. It's massive job's been going on for a while now. So,
that's
it's getting there.
That's 10 minutes. That's 10 minutes I'll never get back of my life.
That's right. Makes me feel good to share it though.
Sorry, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's what I'm saying. I'm neutral. I'm trying to be neutral here. I need to sort of.
Don't ask questions if you don't want the answers.
I'll need to get the gavel here and just, the hammer and just sort of rein it in tomorrow.
In the court. Silence in the court.
Start going off tangent tomorrow. So Darren Boswell asked, I was just messing with you, mate. Please don't get offended. Darren Boswell said here, who are the US breeders that will be on tomorrow? So Owen McIntyre. What's his website called? He'll give himself a shout out tomorrow, and then Eric Burke so it's a Morelia Python radio team that's coming on and having a chat to us. And I don't know, I think it might be a good show to sort of compare the differences with our hobby versus their hobby. The industry side of it, the breeding side of it, because they are northern hemisphere, we southern hemisphere. They do Fahrenheit, we do Celsius. They do 110 volts, we do 220 volts. What else can we? So they've got boas, we've got carpet pythons, and we can go to jail if we keep boas. So they don't, they've got a much more relaxed reptile keeping system over there. But then they want a lot of the stuff that we can keep. You can barely find it over there. So Although there's always
And they're good blokes too, Eric. And I had the pleasure of meeting both of those guys when I was over there a few years back. And they're a good bunch of guys. A lot of the carpet guys are
same guy.
lovely guys. Well, most of the reptile keepers I met over there were all like, had the privilege of being able to go to Tinley Park with Peter Birch and Colin Schumark and another mate of mine, Matt Harris, and had an absolute blast. It was a whirlwind 5-day trip where we hardly slept. And,
I remember that trip, and I remember saying, "Why would you do that?" I mean, it's like, what side did you fly? Did you fly Australia, Hawaii,
mate,
LA, or can you remember? Or was it just one big blur?
No, it was 3 flights.
Oh,
right, because they couldn't get the linked flights. I think we left Sydney something like lunchtime.
Yeah.
But from the time it actually worked out well, because by the time we got to the hotel where we were actually staying, it was something like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. I think it was 36 hours nonstop with layovers here and everything. So, when we got there, I'm like, I'm tired. They're like, oh, let's have a beer and let's do this and let's have dinner. For those that were drinking, I'm like, you know what? You guys have your beer. It's like 9 o'clock. I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
And I was fine. I got it the next morning and we were down at the show, I think at 7. Or we left at 7 to drive to Tinley from where we were.
Yep.
And mate, it was just mind blowing. Like, you see the pictures and you see the stuff, but until you've been to Tinley Park, and anyone that's been to any of our expos, it's like 5 times the size. It's just massive, and the species, the variety, the animals, the colours, like, it's just crazy. And most of the guys were really good. Out here, obviously, we have our quarantine protocols we have to adhere to in the shows through national parks of not being able to handle the animals, and got to keep them locked up and all this sort of stuff. Over there, you walk over and go, oh, that's pretty cool. You have a chat and they realise you're not a local sort of thing. And after the time, it's like, oh man, any chance I can have a look? And they're like, yeah, pull them out. And, we're playing with massive spiders and all these insects we don't get back home. I just giant tarantula crawling up my arm, and I'm not a spider guy at all. But
they weird. That's crazy.
I'm also
shit.
a guy that'll take an opportunity when one arises. I always think,
Were you surprised?
Knockbacks the one you miss.
Were you surprised at how light they are? Like I held a big tarantula, and it walked onto and you couldn't feel it there. I knew you could feel the hairs, but you're like, for something so big, it's really light.
Yeah. They actually had a Goliath, which is the world's biggest,
the big one,
and it was in a salad bowl like this big, and its legs are on all sides. And she goes, "Oh," I'm like, "Oh, do you hold those?" She goes, "No, these guys are pretty angry in terms of the tarantula family." And I said, "That's massive." She goes, "This isn't even a big one." She said, "They get bigger than that." I'm like, out here, you see a spider in your house and
a bird eater,
try to get rid of it or whatever. Out here, like that's going to make a massive splat.
It's something that your wife would bring home to you, Brent. A big
she
bloody
loves
bird eater.
I
don't know. Not a
she
big
gets them out. She's had it crawling on her, and I'm the same. I'm not a big fan. I'm there just as a safety backup in case the thing goes free, but otherwise, no, thank you.
Yeah,
I'll pass.
Is that something?
I'd get bitten by something big like a lace monitor than a tiny spider any day of the week.
Tell me, is that something that will you do another? Would you ever do a trip like that, Brent? Go over there?
Oh, definitely. I went to the States for car things.
Yeah.
Oh, well, 5, 6, 7 years ago now. Lots of car shows. I actually went to Prehistoric Pets.
Did
Jay's place, and had a quick look through there. I wish I'd spent more time and planned more. Like I was into reptiles then, but that trip was with a mate who was a big car head, and we went to all the big car shows and Pebble Beach and all the really, it was a full-on car holiday for 3 weeks. It was, talk about not sleep and drink heavily when I used to drink like a fish and eat shit. And I was so happy to come home and just have a home-cooked meal and sleep. It was a fantastic trip, unreal times. But I wish I did more of the reptile stuff while I was there. There's plenty over there. It's a huge country.
But it could be something that, if you put your mind to it, you could plan a few guys could put their heads together and say, okay, look, 5 years from now, when all this shit passes, we all go over there and we don't go 5 days. You go for like two weeks. And what I found with the Americans, like I've been to Ronson Pier, all these guys in Florida, they've invite you there. We'll go over there, and they'll open their houses for you, and open their facilities and have a look through and stuff. It's definitely something that we should consider. I mean,
absolutely.
it's just talking now, but I mean that'd be awesome, and to go with people with mutual interest. Darren, it was a good trip though, wasn't it? The 5 days.
It was unreal, and everyone got along. We all had a good time. I think it was 6 or 7 of us that went.
Yeah.
And I made some lifelong friends over there.
Yeah.
I met Todd Dyer. He looks after Kerry King's collection. Managed to get to know Kerry over the years, and Todd's a top dude. Like, we got on like an absolute house on fire, and just to be able to, talk to them the way they keep carpets and what they're working with, and some of the stuff they do and some of the stuff that they don't do, like, blew me away. I'm like, have you done this? Oh, no, we get frowned upon if we do that. I'm like, what? Why? Why is that? Why is that frowned upon? But all this is okay, And I don't know. Might delve into specifics tomorrow. I don't want to let a cat out of the bag, but it's really interesting when you chat to them, because they want so much of our stuff, but they've got some amazing things. I know last time Kerry was out, he came down and looked at my stuff, and we were talking about Jags and all that, and I showed him some of my fluoro lines, and Kerry's very, very fussy. He's got some stunning animals, and I showed him a couple of my fluoro Jags, and even he's just opened the drawer and just going, holy, shit. He goes, that's bright for my standards. Like, I'm like, they're, I think people, you put up the photos and people think, oh yeah, that's photoshopped or whatever, but
it's the filter.
It's the hashtag no filter.
Yeah.
But they just are. So seeing some of their animals and their collections, like, I'd love to go back. I've been invited to go and see his collection, if everyone went over there, just.
He's got a. I saw you had a video on YouTube at one stage where somebody was interviewing him. Was that guy that grey-headed guy, the drummer, or he's another rock guy that went around and he interviewed, like, it was a show at some stage.
Oh,
his name?
I remember that.
What's that guy's
No,
name?
he was on.
He was on Sons of Anarchy and other shows.
And he went to Kerry King's facility, and they had a chat, and he pulled out some stuff before we had the granites.
He did all the Venom Bite series too, with the guy with the Black
Mamba. Interesting. That was interesting stuff.
Kerry's collection's actually a lot larger. I think when he first came over, he had about 200 or 300 snakes.
Yeah. And
mostly carpets. Last, I suppose, he had over 1,000. Yeah, so he's just expanded, but he's got a lot of other stuff too now. But it's funny, he's a lovely bloke, quiet guy. But as soon as you start talking carpet pythons and mutations, he's
turns into a nerd.
Oh, he's just into it, and like it's hard sometimes when he comes out, because obviously when he's touring and he's tired and lack of sleep, it's hard to get a conversation out of him sometimes. But when you touch on the topic, whatever it is, python mutation related, and the eyes light up, ding, it's like, oh, blah, 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 and
there it is.
It's great.
Henry Rollins.
Yeah,
there we go. Brett Moy. Brett Moy for the win. There's another guy I want on the show, Brett Moy, at some stage. So, Brett, I'm going to contact you at some stage. Just thought I'd call out people while we're going. So it'd be interesting. Brett works with Antaresia, doesn't he? Brett Moy?
Yeah.
I think he might have come. Yeah. So, in any case, to get back on topic, so that was so Darren's not just a pretty face; he's got all these just dropping names now, and he's knows everybody across the world.
I didn't mean to sound like a toss bag. It's just like
I'm just
who I've spoken to in the US. Like, I would never have ever gotten to meet the guy. I was lucky with the Peppers to meet Kerry back in the day, but but all those carpet guys over there, they're
all cool.
A bunch of blokes.
Cool. Yeah. The best photo I ever saw of the Tinley Park was at Tinley, the carpet row. That always, the first time I saw that, I went, I need to go to that. It's the only country, I don't think they do the carpet row anymore. I think it's, but
there used to be a few. When I went, they had carpet row, and I went down. They had another guy, Matt, that was there, and he had a lot of was it blood pythons? I think they were some strong and
Blood pythons are
you know,
crazy.
it's like you go over there and you go, oh, look at this carpet. Yeah, ZJ, yeah. Like, seen all that shit. Oh, check these out. I never see. I
Yeah.
want to play with this. I'm playing with everything. A ball python, you know, like a pied ball python. They're like, oh, everyone's got those. I'm like, yeah, but we don't have them.
Yeah.
So I want to
Yes.
play with one.
Mm.
I think we
You
need to
know,
make a plan,
monkey
Brent.
lizards and monkey-tailed skinks and there's heaps of shit there. You got to play with gators and
Yeah.
spent a few days at Brian Barczyk's facility. He's a
Yeah.
lovely guy.
I think we
I
need
guess a
to.
lot of haters, but
I think we need to make a trip down, Brent and Darren. I think we need to put
Absolutely.
something.
I would love to go
Put something
when
together.
obviously our breeding seasons are opposites, but imagine I think of a trip like that, going to another country when their stuff is hatching and seeing
Yeah.
all those weird species we don't have coming out of eggs, and in
And
those
live
early
birth.
stages of
Live boas,
wow.
Live birth boas.
Yep.
I mean, I
I
love
see
boas.
those little cobras, the
Yeah.
little things standing there all staunch, trying to kill people, like
And they would.
that sort of stuff would be amazing.
Yeah.
Rattlesnakes. I remember at
Here you go.
Prehistoric Pets, rattlers, just standing in front of a cage watching these things
Yeah.
rattle every time there's movement was just unbelievable. It's just things we don't see. They probably think I'm weird staring at this thing, making it,
Yeah.
flare up non-stop just to hear it rattle. It was amazing.
Let's
they had a lot of rattlers at the reptile park years and years ago. I actually got a whole heap of photos. There's some albino ones there, and I've got some really nice photos of some of the albino rattlers they had. And this was back in the day when Weigel actually used to do a lot of the milking and stuff. So, 05, 06, something like that. And you walk in the room, and the whole room just goes. Oh, and little albino, had an old albino cobra in there, and
it's funny how they ended up.
but-
It's funny how they ended up with those. Just we milk we just milk cobras, and then they end up with albino, all the fancy stuff as well. It's the perks of working for a reptile zoo. It's you get all these fancy things. You're allowed to get all these fancy things in. Let's just say hello to Faye. She's here now.
Yep.
Hello, Faye.
Yeah, hognose. They're very cool. Hognose. I've got to play with some little hognose snakes.
Have you got another screen open there? Facebook, Darren?
No, yeah, I've got Facebook open.
Okay.
On my other computer there. This is just a laptop. Yeah.
All right. So I want Darren to go and do his. We don't have to. It's been 2 hours. No, it's only been. Yeah, it's been 2 hours. So it's been long enough, I think. Yeah. But you need to go and do some stuff, Darren. We don't want to overwork you. Tomorrow we have to. She says hello.
I'll be right. Man up.
Hey, I can go for hours. I'm trying to look out for you. I'm trying to be the nice guy here.
No, I'm all right. I don't normally go to bed till 10:30, 11 anyway.
And Brent's got.
I'm at home now. I'm not getting out of bed at 4:30 in the morning, so it's okay.
Yes. When are have you now? Do you know any more clarification on when you're heading off? Well, not that we have to discuss
not yet.
it. Okay.
Borders don't open until the 15th now, so it's just delayed, which suits me quite fine, to be honest, because I've got so much going on here.
Yeah.
And obviously, just the start of breeding season here. So for me here, I'm just starting to pair up some male. I actually did a little bit of combat before. I paired up a couple of things and not seeing the signs I like to see.
Yeah.
I actually messaged Brent earlier on today. It doesn't help because I've done some electrical work that you shut the power off. Like 3 or 4 weeks ago to do the electrical work, and then you turn all the power back on, and then you forget to go and reprogram all your thermostats. So you go through and go, why isn't this shit getting cooler? What's going on here? It's 34 degrees, it's 33. Then you look at the thermostat, go, why is it flat 33s all the way across? I'm like,
did they reset?
They're all reset because they're off for quite a while. So I had to go through and reset all the iStats.
Well, why did the iStats? Are their internal clocks? Are their internal batteries dead?
Well, it was off for a while because we had to wire up a whole heap of stuff. So
yeah, but they shouldn't.
All the power points were turned off.
It might be worthwhile just, but you can't really open those things because nobody can service them. But it sounds like their internal
clocks had reset. The clocks are all different.
Yeah, but that means the internal battery, because they have a little tiny battery inside that keeps the clock.
Yep.
That remembers, and if that battery dies, that's when they reset. I've got a few that not iStats, but they would be that age.
Like that. Yeah, when you cut the power, you need to set the time on them before they will obviously work on a 24-hour setting. So if you don't set the time, they don't heat. So it's very important. Those couple that need, a lot of them just do re-power up, that little
Yeah.
watch battery in there gets them going again. But there's a couple that just need to be reset, otherwise you are doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, so that's all done. So I had a couple of males tonight. I just thought I'd throw them together and see what happened, and they fired up pretty quick. So it's if you want to check if you got a boy, the easiest way to do is throw it in with another seasoned male, and they'll combat. They'll let you know real quick who's the boys and who's the girls. It's you don't need to let them smash each other for half an hour. You
Yeah.
literally put them in, and you'll know. You watch them, and the other instantly they'll recognise. They'll get over sniff and what's going on here, and
Yeah, and if
you
one's
know,
trying to make a duck, even before that, he's gonna get
Yeah.
smashed. Get him out of there. But as long as the bigger one, or usually the bigger ones get triggered a lot easier. The older ones are usually the more capable of fighting.
I find it's an experience thing with
Yeah.
the males. The bigger, the more experienced they are, they just know what to do. You put them in, they smell another male there on the hunt. Like, where's
They're
the other
ready.
male? Like,
Yeah.
I'll combat straight away. And it's only enough, once they start raising their heads and, doing the whole trying to
Dance.
force each other down, you don't have to let them go for a minute or two. You just watch them and you separate them out, and it's enough to fire them up and get them going. And, it's also a good way to tell if your males are starting the cycle.
Do you
If you
do?
put them together, you're not seeing any action. The girl's here and he's there, and nothing's going on. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, am I a bit early? I'll take it out, throw them in with another male. If they start combating, you go, well, the boys are ready. Maybe the girls aren't quite ready yet. So,
Yeah.
you can take the boys back out and let them cool for a bit longer and try reintroductions later on. But normally, once you combat, throw them straight in with the girls, and the boys are like, hello,
Keen.
ladies.
Do you, Brent? You don't do much. You don't do a lot of combating, do you?
Very little. Occasionally, I'll throw some younger boys in just to try and fire
Get
them
them
up. But
going. Yeah.
I'll often do young boys with young boys, not big old boys with young boys. It's I don't do a lot of combat, but
No,
if I find a boy's doing bugger all, certainly doesn't hurt to give him a bit of a
Of a
stir up.
nudge.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I find the
I've got,
experienced ones, you'll get to know the boys.
yeah,
Some
that's right.
will just go. You throw them in, you just know this mate. He needs no priming. He just goes. So you put him in, and he comes next morning, and he's on the job. So
Yeah.
Yep.
there's some that are lazy, I feel, and I feel like there's always one or two boys that if you don't combat them, they do nothing. They need that
Yeah.
inspiration to get going.
It,
So
it
you just got to know your animal.
It's one
Yeah,
of
that's right.
it's the only time in the year where you would, I remember being able to touch old males and let them go in your hands. It'd be the only time in the year where you'd be able to put your hand into a male's cage, and as soon as he smells another male on your hands, he'd think that your hand's something that he could wrestle. I remember that was the only time that you wouldn't get bitten, because they're not, if they pick up, I'm not saying that people have to go and put their hands into it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they can sometimes think that your arm is from interacting, and even with females and stuff, they get it's a different type of interaction that they have with you than a feed response, or are you feeding me now? They know, they can smell those fragrances in the air, and they sort of not as eager to try and take your arm off when you open up the cage. So it's just an observation
And
that
if
I
you
think.
touch the top of them on the back like it's another
Yeah.
male coming over the top of them straight
And
away,
it's like
they'll come up. They're instantly going, "Hey, no, getting on my back, pal, get off."
This
I'll
ain't
rest
Brokeback Mountain.
Oh no, let's not go in the gutter, come on.
Save that for tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, so anything else? Is any questions out there? There's a whole bunch of people that watch. Faye said she remember she asked a few weeks ago, how do you mark snakes? So she apparently put ink on one of the males with an identical female, and then it shed. So now that she doesn't know who's who. It happens.
You got to
Just
keep
keep
your eye on it.
pairing them, Faye. Just leave them there together because I want those babies. So just leave them in there non-stop. One will lay eggs, and you'll know it's the girl.
Yeah.
It's Antaresia. Just chuck another boy in there. You'll know who the boy is straight away.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way. Like I've had the same issue. Now I've learned to keep an eye on it, and I go, oh, boy's coming in the shed. I'll take him out and separate him. So when he sheds the liquid paper mark off, I can re-put a mark back on him and chuck him back in again.
Yep.
It's good to give him a rest anyway. But I had the same issue a couple of years back when I first started doing. I'm like, so I just chucked another male in, sit there for a minute, bang, crank, crash. Oh, okay, that's the boy. Take him out, mark him, and it's easy found.
Yeah.
Just don't let them hook up and find out some dual sire, triple sire action going on.
Well, you should never combat your males and leave them together in a draw. Trust me.
No.
I've made the mistake of having a missexed animal and put a male in to mate with it and ran out the door, came back to find that they'd released about 8 or 9 other snakes from combating and pushing the draw out and them getting out and then going in the back of the vision racks and opening up all the other drawers.
Yeah. Or throwing,
what's going on in here?
Or pushing everything off on that, sitting on top of the racks. Yeah, go crazy. That's when you.
True.
That's how I used to know somebody was escaped, is when you walk in and there's stuff lying on the floor and you go, I didn't.
F10s on the ground, paper towels down, hides on the ground. Yeah, you know straight away.
F10
I actually have one Jag who can open a V70 and knows how to open it. So I have a rock jammed in the front of her V70 to lock the thing from sliding open. And she has done it 5 or 6 times. They've come out of that tub and been in the room and trashed it. And I still remember one morning going in there and mess, and I went, I can't believe this thing's out again. And searched the whole room for 20 minutes, couldn't find it, started to get worried, and went back, and she was back in her hide in the tub. So she'd gone out, trashed the room, and gone back to bed where the heat was. So it's.
I've had a few of those. I've had a few of those moments. Brent can attest to this one. Was actually doing the feeding, and the albino pepper that I've got is just assist feeding. It's a pain in the ass. Like it'll go eventually, but it just doesn't want to eat. Shows zero interest in a feed response. But if you grab the mouse and put it in its mouth and put it back in the drawer, it eats. And I'd done that, and I always leave the drawer there. I sit there and watch it till the snake eats and make sure it's eating, and then I shut the drawer and off you go. My wife came home as I was doing this. I just literally put it back in. She goes, we need to go to the shops. Need to do this. Oh, okay. So racing got changed and went to the shops. Left the drawer open with the albino pepper sitting in it. Was gone for like an hour and a half. Came back and I looked at the drawer and went, oh no. Oh no. If any snake, any other one, I would have been, okay. And I walked over the tub thinking, it's gone. And here it was caught up at the back, still sitting there. And it was like one of these.
Yeah.
And the tub was like 3/4 open. It wasn't like it was just this much at the front. I had it slid out, fed it, put it back. Yeah, and sat there and I was just watching it. She said, had to do it. Rushed out the door, didn't think twice. So, we have those silly moments.
But it's funny how it's always the nice ones that are the hard ones to get going.
Yeah, true.
It's always the shitty feeders. The best ones are always the shitty ones. I had an albino Murray once that, remember that one that took 2 years? Like I had one that I struggled with for like 2 years. Eventually, like sometimes they get so malnourished that when you assist feed them, that the skin tears.
They tear open.
I used to just, because the skin gets so thin from not having nutrition that it just tears. And I went glue. With super glue. Super glue. I stuck it back. So for those of you, if that does happen, there's a pro tip here. You can take that skin, and if you're very gentle, and you can push the skin together and just use super glue to stick it back together. And I mean, I've had 5-6 centimeter tears on a hatchling carpet python that I've managed to stick together and leave it for like 6 weeks. And then the funniest thing is, they shed it off, and they are still and usually after something like that happens, the snake will eat. I don't know what it is. I don't know why that damage. I don't know why they do that. But the first time it was when the first time I saw that work that super glue actually works was when the albinos were still like $2,500. I had one that I was assist feeding, and I was a little bit rough. Tore the neck open, behind the jaw all the way down, because a pinky rat comes pouring out of the snake's neck. And I spoke to Shane Simpson, and I said to him, look, I think I've mentioned it on a previous show, but not everybody watches all the shows. So I couldn't get a hold of him. we stitched that one up together, but the next time it happened, and it didn't happen often. I mean, this was like rare, but like snakes that you'd put the effort in, that's like a one-off, you know, you try and save it. And then the next time it happened, I just stuck it together with the glue and it shed off and it was fine afterwards. So that's something you can do. If you have an emergency, even on big snakes, like I've had a male be bitten by a female in breeding season because she was still looking for food. And she mistook him as I remember there was one of my original zebra jags that made all the different zebra jags that I had. And she tore holes in his back. And I just took super glue, stuck the skin together, and the next shed cycle shed that off. So you don't always have to rush to a veterinarian to get wounds sticked open. If it's not into the meat, into the flesh, if it's just a skin wound, you'll see the difference. You know, you'll see the white muscle tissue underneath it that's all smooth. As long as it's not, and I think it will even work with a muscle tear as well. Snakes are tough, man. You don't have to rush.
Super tough.
Yeah, I think they made to resist. You know, I don't think any marsupial wants to be eaten. So I think they'll put a marsupial would put up a massive fight if a carpet has them, or you know, I think any animal that urge to live would inflict damage on a predator if they can. So I don't think that this whole thing that we all stressed out, always good thing to take them to a vet, but in some cases I think we're too eager to rush off when you can fix that at home. If you got
it becomes an experience thing though. Like the first time you don't know what to do. When you go to the vet and the vet goes, oh, you know, here's what you do. You go, oh, okay, you've learnt, and you can get some experience from it. You know, like back when I did wires training and everything, donkeys years ago, and did their rehabilitation course and all this sort of stuff, I learned so much and became friends with Dave Vella, who was doing the course and everything. And like the experience that an experienced vet can impose on you during that one thing was just, you know, phenomenal. And doing the rescues, constantly taking injured snakes and doing rehabilitation, and you know, you just learn a lot, how to give injections, where to give injections, what site, what type of injection to give, and where, you know, it's, if you don't have that knowledge, don't have that experience, that the first time is extremely daunting, even to assist feed / go on to force feed the snake. If you haven't done it the first time and you don't know the complications that can arise from it, as you've just spoken to someone experienced, you know, to have a pinky come out the side of the neck, it can happen. If you don't know what you're doing and you're doing it for the first time, you know, you need to realize these things can happen, and it can happen to anyone if you do it enough and you're not careful. So like I've got a number of animals back here that I'm have to force feed tonight, but you know, I force feed tiny pinky mice because I'd rather force feed one down. Once you get the first one down, which is normally a bit difficult, the second one will slip down much easier. So I'd rather give two little pinkies than to try and feed something a little bit bigger.
But how many did you have to feed to get so proficient? Like, I mean, I've fed hundreds. You know, you get so good at it. You know, like I used to have a little bowl. I used to have those super long nosed tongs, you know, with the round tips. And I've got videos on Facebook. I might post a video one day. You get so good at it, you can literally sink that sucker in like 20 seconds. Zero stress to this. There'd be a little bit of stress, you know, and I can remember early days when I started, you know, like, the stress, and you get so frustrated, and then the food comes back up, but you eventually figure out how to do it, and then you get so good at it. People stand there and they look at you and go, nah. How is it that simple? No, you just need the technique, bang, straight down.
The hands and the tongs and everything in the right spot. Just the pressure. The other weekend, I did all the pain in the arse ones. I had 27 hatchies to assist feed that hadn't eaten all year.
Yeah.
And I just thought this is going to be hours. And then 45 minutes later, I'm out of there because you just smash them in and back in the tubs. Like you say, the quicker you get it done, the less stressful for the animal, and it's back on heat and deals with it. So it's
and it's sometimes, you know, it sometimes is easier. You know, because you get those ones that you they strike for the meal, and then you have to sort of stand dead still for 2 minutes, and then you sort of have to duck, you know, under the line of fire, and then you have to sort of sneak out of the room, and then you have to maybe go. Sometimes it's just easier to shove that mouse down there and get it over with, and shove it so far down that he doesn't spit it back up.
I always like to offer them first, and
Yeah.
you're 100% right. So you'll find most of my fussy feeders are at a chair level.
Yeah.
So I can sit there, get my little bowl of
Of
pinkies
course
or
you'll be
whatever, sit
sitting,
there and
yeah.
go feed. And if it takes, I just go, oh, and I sit there. And normally I've got my phone somewhere in hand, and I'll sit there and I'll start to eat, and I don't move, and I'll just get my phone. I'll just start playing games or something on my phone and sit there for 10 minutes, because I'd rather them,
Do it by
if
themselves,
they
yeah.
get that response, I'd rather sit there for the 10 minutes it takes for them to finally eat it than to force feed. Because normally once they've taken the one, you go there,
Game on.
as soon as you get that first one in, feed them again like in 3 or 4 days' time. Just go there when they've got that whole food response in their head. You leave them for 2 weeks and you go back to stage one. So
Yeah.
as soon as it's taken that feed, I'll leave them, and a couple of days later, I'll come back, offer them food, and normally they'll smash the second that one.
Yeah.
And if I can, I'll try and pump another one straight into it, and you'll build that food response up in a couple of weeks, and before you know it, they're smashing food like anything
Yeah.
else.
But it's
So
funny. It's funny how you learn this stuff though, because you look at you can see a amateur, somebody that just started with, they've got that mouse and it's right in the snake's face and stuff. Like I perfected a method where you've got those tongs and you've got you're sort of mimicking the mouse's movements. It's coming closer, it's running off, because a snake doesn't like the food coming up to it. They like to sit there and watch and see it move. And I found that carpets, especially hatchlings, they get triggered by the movement, and then it's coming closer, going further, and the more you do it, the more you realize what they want, their meal to do.
Different techniques. So, sometimes pulling it away quick's enough to make it go, oh, it's food. And they launch out and grab it.
Yeah.
And then you hope that you can freeze quick enough. Or sometimes you'll feed in the tweezers, and finally you'll be sitting there for 15 minutes and things striking. You think it's going to take it. It's going to take. You can just tell. Finally, it takes it, and then the food item gets caught in the tweezers, and you're trying to get the tweezers off, and then they spit it out and look at you like, "What's going on?" It's like, "Oh, you."
Yeah.
Start all over again,
And then you're standing next to somebody that's coming into the shop and brought you the snake. So I've tried everything to get the snake eating, and you're going 2 seconds, bang, and sometimes it's just the movement from one place to another. And that snake suddenly in a new environment, smelling all, and there's this food item and straight, and people standing there going, "Nah, what?"
It can be as simple as temperature as well.
Yeah.
You offer something that you go, oh, the amount of times I hear people go, oh, the water's only just lukewarm. I'm like, no, make it hotter. Like if your hand's there and you've got a food item that is a similar temperature to your hand and you're feeding it, it's probably struggling to detect the prey item itself. So I'm always like, put your finger in if it feels, not boiling hot, obviously, but a substantial temperature difference to lukewarm water. You go, oh, yep, there's some warmth in there. Offer that 5 degrees Celsius in variation of temperature is enough for it to go, is that food? And, oh, that's food, A simple thing is temperature.
I've even temp gun food before, pinky rats, where things hard to struggle. I'll get them to 35 to 40 degrees with the temp gun and measure the temp and actually offer it at that temp and find that they will recognize that much better than often you have 20 pinkies sitting there and then you check them later and they're down to 24 degrees. They've got too cold while you're feeding so many animals. So, I've gone to the trouble of checking temp of pinkies before to get them going.
It'd be nice to get hold of some of these. I saw Freedom Breeder has got a actual oven now where you defrost the rats. It's great. The Americans.
Oh wow!
They've got a.
Does it come with?
It's got little trays. You literally. It's got a little. It's set to the perfect body temperature of a rat. You take out the rats, the frozen rats. You chuck them in there. And that machine raises and it's got trays. So you just pull the trays out, none of that wet shit everywhere. And you just literally, different sizes, compartments, this, that, whatever.
Wow.
What is that?
That's flash.
That is flash. And it's on wheels, in and out, we need one of those, Fred. Huh?
I just have buckets.
Oh, the bucket feed. What?
Buckets.
Ice cream containers. Different sizes, then just bang, 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 go.
Like 25, 30 litre containers. I just filled with rats and just fill it with hot water
Yeah.
and just
Yep.
walk away for 40 minutes, come back, pour it all out,
Are
fill up with
you
hot
one of
water
the?
again.
Are you a wet feeder? Ugh.
No, 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 no. What I do is I defrost them in water
Yeah.
because two things. One, it gives them a bit of moisture
What a little
anyway.
bit of
It's a
liquid
little bit of wet
hydration.
liquid.
Yeah.
I reckon it's a little bit easier to swallow, but I don't actually feed them straight out of dripping water. So I'll actually feed them to defrost them to the point that they're ready to feed. I'll then fill that up with hot water again, and then I have a smaller container because when you're
Yeah.
defrosting 5 rats, it's okay. Like the other week, I defrosted like 100. I think it was like 60 large and 40 mediums because I didn't want to defrost 100 jumbos in case.
Ugh.
So I'll leave
Hard
them in the big
life.
tub
Yeah.
defrosted, and I have a smaller one, and I'll pull like 10 out. So I'll actually drain them. The water goes in. I'll drain all the water out, and then I'll go over because they maintain heat for enough time for me to go to the room. Snake will open the drawer and feed. Bang, 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 bang. When they take it, then when that's done, I go back, and the rats are still sitting there maintaining that nominal temperature. But
Yeah.
because I've drained, you know, 90% of the water off them, by the time you get there, they're not dripping all over the place anyway. So,
But that is a good thing to when you have a sink like that sink that you've got. I remember sometimes I did defrost things in water. If I wanted to feed quickly and I didn't take anything out, I used to defrost in water. I didn't say that on the live. I've never.
Water.
I'm horribly against that. Like I just don't know. I just don't. I like it to sit on the shelf. It's nice and dry. Doesn't make anything wet. Doesn't spread back. Like not that it matters. If you're on top of cleaning, it doesn't really affect them. And a little bit of exposure to
nope.
bacteria is never bad. But a good sized sink as well, when you can just bucket the water out and let those rats sit in the sink and drain off. It's already a win. Instead of
Yeah.
feeding them straight, it's water everywhere and blood, juice, and you name it.
I'll drain them out.
I just wanted to say something. Yes, Josh also asked. These Murrays is breaking his balls at the moment. He's asking.
We've had a few conversations.
But they're not that hard, mate. Stop stressing. Stop stressing. Murrays and Bredli are the easiest
Easy.
carpets to get feeding. They just eat. They'll eat literally before they've had their first shed. So don't stress
Even
about it.
pinky rats, and they just eat.
They are a little bit more technical to breed, I think, than Darren's got. I've bred Bredli. I wasn't consistent with them though because of their later cycle. You're good at it, Brent, as well. But other than that, it's just do you find that he's probably going to ask about breeding? He's probably asked you guys about breeding as well.
He's
Why do
asked
you?
me quite a lot about breeding the Murrays. We've had
Yeah.
a good old chat, me and Josh, a few times.
But
It's keen
Murrays,
to learn, so good on him.
I think Murrays are still sort of in line with the standard carpet breeding practice. I think Bredli need a little bit extra something to get them going.
Yeah, I think I find with Bredli, Brent might be, I don't know, Brent might have a different version, but I find that sometimes triggering a Bredli, because as you, excuse me, alluded to there,
COVID.
a late COVID, it's a COVID cough. Of course, they're a late season breeder. Often it's the warming that is the trigger for Bredli
Triggers,
as opposed to
yep.
being cool. Sometimes that's not just enough. Sometimes it's offering the girls a small feed and bringing that whole cycle, the whole winter cooling cycle to an end, so to speak, and then having the males in. But I found in the past that can be easy to miss. So I actually pair my Bredli up quite early from when they would normally breed. And that's because I found in the past, you suddenly have winter where we're going, okay, we've got a high of 22 and a cold of 5 in the morning. When suddenly you'll get a week where it's 29, 30 degrees or high 20s, and a warm morning. And that extra temperature for the Bredli is enough to trigger the girls to be ready to breed. Now, if that happens in August, and you're not pairing till October or September, suddenly you could have missed that opportunity. So I tend to pair them a little bit sooner, and I just monitor what they're going constantly. So I put the boy in for a week. If I don't see anything, I'll just take him out, leave him for a while. I'll occasionally throw the male in for a bit of combat just to make sure he's still on track. And I'll make the introductions. I might put him with the girl for a week, take him out for a few days, put him in with another girl. Yeah. And I've had constant success doing it that way I've pretty much bred them every year except for the last couple because
Th-
they're out.
They do seem to have a lot more nutritional needs, though. I found with breadlie, they would
I feed my breadlie.
they would eat,
Big.
they would eat the whole time through, all the way through
Yep.
to.
Oh,
I don't think I've ever seen them just go off food. They'll just eat, and especially coming out of when you say like when it starts to get warm, they almost look like you can't get weight on them. That's
Yep.
you're feeding them, and it just looks like and then they just boom.
Big bodied.
Yeah.
Big bodied
they're
animal.
heavy snake. Like my breadlie girls, they're big girls. They're 8-9 kilos. Like
Yeah.
they're not little snakes. And you need to feed them.
Yeah.
Like they'll get a kilo of rats in a session. They'll get like 3 jumbo rats in a go. Like not straight not straight away after laying eggs. I never pump anything full of food that's just laid eggs because they're sunken in and depleted.
Yeah.
So I'll give them a couple of feeds just to build that energy up, to put some food back in the system, get the metabolism cranked up and all that sort of stuff. And then once they're in full swing, I'll really lay a bit of food into them, and they need it to get that a good healthy condition on them if you want to breed them again. But if I had them still here, I'd probably still be feeding them now. They're
Definitely.
still hungry.
And I think people turn off too early. People stop
100%.
feeding them when carpets are breeding. Like, no
Yep.
way, they're still smashing food. Like,
Yep. And that whole theory goes back to what I was saying before. I personally don't switch off any feeding for any species at any particular date. Like you often
Yeah.
hear it like April. Oh yes, April. I stop feeding, and then 2 weeks later I'll start to drop the temperature by 1 degree for 3 days, and then and it goes on and on. I'm like, you're putting rocket science into something that doesn't need it.
Yeah.
and nature's never the same every year, and nor is
That's
every
exactly
animal
right.
the same.
Like people say, oh, what sort of daylight cycle should I follow? The sunrise and sunset. Simple as that. If you have lights on in your enclosure and you want to give them a photo period of sorts, there's your answer. Look outside. You'll find on the news every night it'll give you sunrise and sunset. And you only have to guideline if you want to follow that procedure. So I think there's a lot of people over confuse things when they start to breeding, and a bit of experience down the track they'll change. It's and you hear all the arguments. I've heard people say, oh, you've got to do that, stop feeding them, that way they can clear out, poo out all the rats and stuff you fed them. Well, no, it doesn't matter, because if you're still supplying heat through the day during cooling, which you should do, and they're still getting cool at night, they still have that heat during the day in which they can bask, digest, process the food, and pass it through. So unless you're supplying no heat, which you're going to end up with an RI and a sick snake anyway, food in the guts makes zero difference.
Yeah, Faye says she agrees. Thanks, Faye. We appreciate that you agree with us. She's just confirmed.
Right,
thank you.
Confirmation.
We needed the confirmation. Yep. Thank you. I'm recording this, and for some reason it just said to me, "Oh, there's no more disk space." It's like that last show was only this part of the first 2 hours was only 3.8 gig, and I'm like, but I'm sure there's 4 terabytes there to record on. So I figured out it probably has a limit. So I just had to press start again. Sorry guys. We went a little bit over the amount of time that I thought we'd be allocating to this, but it's an interesting topic. Josh, if you have an issue, I'm close by. I'm in Victoria. You just yell, and I'll come and I'll show you how to palpate, and I'll show you how to feel. And because you have to feel your way through it. But you need to just be shown. So if COVID gives us that permission to, I think we're allowed to go near. We're allowed to touch snakes. Yeah. Other people, are we allowed to touch? Are we allowed to touch?
Carry COVID?
Are we allowed to touch other people's snakes? I don't know.
Whose snake you're talking about. Oh, animals. Sorry.
No, sure. If you really get stuck, mate, it's not that hard. I'll come and show you, and then you can try and practice but it's good if you have somebody that can show you how to do that stuff. It makes life a lot easier, because sometimes you just have to pull that female out feel her all around and just see what she's like,
Yeah, that's it. It's hard when because Josh has sent me a few photos and he's
Yeah.
going, oh, I think it might be ovulation and everything, and
It's early though.
it's
Too early.
yeah, it probably is too early. It is so hard because you know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You know, when you see you see a snake, you can tell. It's so hard to. I sent him probably a half a dozen photos of some snakes that are in ovulation, but it's so hard to teach someone that without being able to show them.
Yeah.
You know, when you go, oh, this is what an ovulation look. Come and have a look at the snake. You can see. You go, oh, that's what it looks like. You know, you can see the scale separation. It looks like
Yeah.
they've just had a football or a couple of footballs or, whatever. And
Why?
sometimes it's hard to pick that up in a photograph when someone doesn't know what they're looking for, and it's just an experience thing. It's not a knock of someone, but yeah, they might go, "Oh, this is ovulation." You're looking to go, "No, it doesn't look
No.
like that to me at all." You know,
But
it
your
is
your
hard.
your Murrays would my Murrays. I think my Murrays used to hatch sort of late January. So that means
Jeez,
they would.
mate, I used to, mine were hatching in November, early November.
Oh,
Mine
really?
would always go early. Yeah, yeah.
That's
But that
odd.
could be a difference in
Victoria's,
locality as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
Victoria's further down though. But I remember that. But it could just be because I think from memory I reckon they were late in Victoria. But it could just be my setup was different, and
yeah.
I didn't bring them. I didn't breed them many times. You would be far more qualified with you. You probably be
But
the most qualified when it comes to Murray Darlings and breeding them. Have you found that? Have you found that with mixed blood Murrays? Do they with what do they overlap? Do they fall sort of in between the two subs, or do they do their own thing?
just the same thing. They just kind
Yeah.
of blend, so you don't kind of get any variation of what I would do with the pure Murrays as opposed to any of the outcross ones like the Peppers over Jags, or last year I had Het Pepper Zeb over a Het Pepper Jag,
Uh,
and they're all mating consistently with the pure Pepper boys over the pure Het Pepper girls and things like that. So yeah, I don't find there's any outside variation. One I'm looking forward to doing is in the future to see if there's a difference is actually because I found my Murrays normally go early along with some of the carpet stuff, but when the ants are mating, I've often had the Murrays mating.
oh, gee, that's odd.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah. It's,
very
it's
early,
just
isn't it?
the way it is. But yeah, because I've put pepper into breadlie because I want to try and make that pepper patterning with the reds of a breadlie.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they change, whether they
Go
tend
more
more at the
breadlie.
breadlie side or not. But there's another thing, breadlie, a late season breeder, one of the latest season breeders. My Murrays are one of the earliest, but I still managed to get the crossover.
Maybe it's room.
So,
Maybe it's room dependent, and just like the way you keep them.
maybe it's little sneaky things you can work out what to do along the way.
Brent, have you bred Murrays?
Mixed blood stuff, nothing
Nothing
pure
pure.
Murray, no.
Okay. That's no. It's interesting to know.
But
To
I'm
see
having that exact issue now with the Bredli. Of mixed blood stuff tends to blend in. The Bredli Darwin stuff blends back into the seasons. Now I'm trying to use an albino Bredli, 50% Darwin, 50% Bredli blood, trying to pair that back to one of Darren's big Bredli girls. So I'm back in that same boat of trying to get that albino boy to hang on long enough for the Bredli girl to kick in. So yes, you almost try to
Oh, you're making higher
mimic
percentage.
75% heads.
Ugh.
So you're basically trying to make that boy hold on, don't start him too early, make him go later, like mimic a later season for him so that he can stay in the game long enough and push the Bradley girl, come in earlier, smash the food in, get it massive, and then get that heat back up. Like Darren said, you need to, when they start to feel the heat on, that's when I think the Bradley kick in. So you almost force the season late for the boy and early for the girl to try to make that overlap again, and pray that happens, because it's like Darren got the first one done. Many tried
Yeah,
for
well, I mean
years.
that's
And it's
I
not
tried.
easy.
I tried that for years
Yeah,
to do
the overlap
yeah.
when I did my pure albino boy over the
You're talking a
breadlie
week or two.
was a week. It was a
Yeah.
Yeah.
week overlap, and I manipulated. I kind of thought about it, and I played around with stuff. So it was there was kind of a thought process behind it. And I don't know if it was sheer luck or I just got timings right. But we actually came into some warm weather, and I'd actually already bumped the the rack that the bread lie was in. Most of the other girls were already gravid, so I'd actually already had knocked the temps up in that for that reason. We got a spate of warm weather, and of course the temps had been up in the rack already because no one there was the bread lie left to go. I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter, they can get warm, and I can put the male in. And my albino Darwin had just finished pretty much his job on the head albino girls because always keep. I've used him for other stuff, but always I've got two two lovely head albino pure Darwins from Simon's lines, and I always put the boy back over his the two girls every year. And he was still on fire. I put him with another male, still combating. I took him out, put him in with the bread lie, and I literally went back 4 hours later, and he was locked up solid. And I'm like, oh, well, that works. And by the end of the week, I thought, I'll give him a few days, make sure he's done a good job. And by the end of the week, I opened the drawer and he nearly took my face off. I literally opened the
It's food
drawer and he's
time.
just come out like that. Rah! And I've gone, oh, I guess you're finished. And I put him back and he was in food mode. It was literally a week. And I got him. But he was enough to get him. She was obviously cycling in and he was cycling out. And I got the crossover. And obviously the same again with the Murrays. Got
Yeah.
basically similar technique and got that as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
not many people's made that albino bread lie crossing.
As
It's
far
a,
as I
it's a
know, I'm the only
uh,
one, and
Joe Ball, wasn't it
Joe
Joe?
Ball.
Yeah, yeah, Joe did it.
The only difference, and I don't know whether it comes in effect, and I don't mean it in a detrimental effect at all, uh, but the albino that Joe used was mixed blood. So I don't know whether the mixed blood in the albino um,
Gave it
played
a
a
different.
part in making it an easier transition. And he had mine was a male albino over the female bred lie, and his was the opposite.
I
So
think
his
it's.
was a male albino over a mixed blood female. So I don't know whether that's made a difference for him, like maybe bring it into season
Yeah.
closer together or not. I'm not sure. I should give
But
him a ring and have a chat to him one day.
I think I do think though that it's also got to do with starting with hatchlings. So if you start if you bought your bred lie and your mixed bloods at the same time and they grew up in the same environment, like Brent, like you swear by that. You buy young ones and you raise them up
Yep.
in a place and you don't ever move them their whole life. That's all they know. I've seen that works. You raise a bunch
Settle.
of hatchlings
Yep.
together. They all sort of cycle at the sort of the same time, but as soon as you move them, it stuffs things up. I've seen that
Yep.
so
Same
many
same
times.
food source, same temperatures, same tubs, same
Yep.
scents, same cleaning lady, same everything. Nothing
Same
changes.
cleaning
So
lady, yeah, with their new shoes, yeah, same cleaning lady.
yeah, yes, and they know. Like she opens the tubs and they see those shoes and they know it's the cleaning lady and they go back in. I
Yeah,
go in there and they just see me and go food.
yeah,
She always finds it amazing. Almost like they can tell who's
yeah.
there for what
They
purpose.
smell. They smell us before we move in there. They know. They're
They
clever.
know what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jason Deacon said a long thing. I posted it twice. So I'll read it to Darren. Darren has told me quite often that I overthink things. It's Jason Deacon.
Yeah.
As I've spoken to Darren several times in regards to breeding and assist feeding, amongst a lot of other questions, I've asked him. I have to read this because it's so well written. I've asked him and always has the time to help. It's great to have guys like yourself who are willing to share your experiences and give advice to people still learning in the hobby.
Thanks, mate.
And
Appreciate that.
that's a
I do.
great compliment there, Darren. Huh?
Yeah, I do. Look, I don't care. I tend not to get involved in a lot of the Facebook stuff that goes on. But if anybody messages me, look, I I don't always get back to people straight away.
Yeah.
If I'm busy outside and like honestly, the phone can just go bing, 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 all day long. But if I've got the time, I will always respond at some point in time. Sometimes, it might be someone wants to buy a snake and I haven't seen it, and I get back a week later and they've gone, "Oh, sorry, mate, I got one somewhere else." I'm like, "Hey, good on you, well done." Like, it doesn't worry me. But if I'm always happy to help. Like, I don't care who it is, don't care who you are. I sit on neutral ground. Friends of friends, and if I can help somebody in the hobby and doing these shows, whether it's with yourself, whether it's with Troy K, whether it's
Yeah.
Pete on Criticam, doesn't matter. If I can give a little bit of my knowledge that I've learned over 20 odd years of keeping back to someone like Jason, to Josh, and anybody, many other people that ask questions, then I feel I'm helping. Because in the early days, it was a lot harder in, to learn, I suppose, because we didn't have social media platforms.
Yep.
Back in the day, I learned from going to societies, and I sat on the committee of the AHS back in the day, for over 10 years. I've been a member of Hawkesbury Herp, sat on the committee of Hawkesbury Herps. I've been involved in MacArthur Herp Society. I've been down to Illawarra, and been a member of their society. And that was where you learn. You would go
Yeah.
to societies and you would talk to people, and if you wanted to find someone with other snakes, you talk to them, and they put you onto someone else, and you build a network of friends and communications. And as you go along, then APS came on the scene, and that became the place to go to talk. And it's like great. Whereas now you go on to Facebook and you go reptiles, and 15,000 groups come up,
Yep.
and you can go on there and join it. But going to societies back in the day, you would learn the experience of the people you were speaking to. Now you'll see a post on a Facebook group, and the person can sprout, oh, I know all this, I'm got all this
Yep.
experience. But for someone that has the experience, you can often read into it, and and see, well, okay, either someone else has told you that, or you're not sprouting your own personal experience. And I don't mean it to be negative towards anyone, but there's so many people that go out there, they've had a snake and their mate said X, Y, Z. Someone that comes on and asks a question and they repeat what their mate said.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily the be all and end all of the question. There's, we've spoken about several things tonight, like, for example, you breeding your Murrays late in the season, I'm breeding them early in the season. That's just a different. That could be
Yep.
location, the enclosure, your type of thermostat, and what temperatures you run at night compared to what I do, how soon
Yep.
you drop them, the weather you've got. And there's so many variables: a glass enclosure, a timber enclosure, floor heating, top heating. Like the variables are great. And
Yep.
so if people message me, mate, I will give them every bit of knowledge I have. I don't bullshit people. I don't lie to people. I won't tell them stories. There was some well-known breeders back in the day that would say stuff and go, "Oh, you don't want to feed your hatchies any more than once every 3 weeks."
And
I'm
that
like,
was
"Is that so?"
because they had reasons for it,
100%.
There was
I'll
reasons
tell
behind that.
people, you want it to grow, you want it to grow to breed, or it's just a pet. If it's just a pet, your first snake, like the young girl I sold on the week, I said, it only needs to be fed once a week. Increase its meal. I said, you want to breed it? I said, you feed it every 3-4 days,
Yeah.
and you'll get it up to size to breed a lot quicker.
Yep, but to touch on the whole Facebook thing, I go into some of these. They've got a few carpet python. What's it? Carpet python. There's a group that they talk about carpet python. I can't remember what it is. There's a few carpet python groups, and you look at a simple question, and you'll go in there, and that okay, the answer is this. This is I know the answer. The answer is this. This is the answer, and you get 20 comments, and you can see these guys have no idea what they talk. And then the person asking the question, I can imagine how hard it is to sort of go. So the person will choose the answer that sort of falls more in line with what they think
Suits what
the
they want
answer
to hear.
is. It fits their idea. You know what I mean, Brent? It's like, and then they'll go with the person that sort of fits their frame,
What they want to hear
what they,
often.
and you go, and I can spot the guys that know what they're talking about. You'll go, yep, and you'll see the guys that's the similar answers. So out of 20 answers, you'll get 6 guys that say the same thing, and it's usually the ones that should maybe be a way to approach Facebook. Find the guys that all sort of agree on, like, skin conditions, like blister disease, the environment's too wet. Sure, there's other reasons you could do it, but that's one good example. Like you see people say, "What's these little thing spots on my snake's ventral scales?" And you go, "Well, that's because the the substrate's too wet." Simple answer, and then you get take it to a vet, do this, whatever. And most of the time, it's just that a tweak that you can make, and it sorts itself out after one shed. Yeah.
Yep.
But it's a big discussion, 20,000 answers in there. You have to sift through the right answer, blah, blah, blah. And then the better way is to contact somebody like Brent or Darren, and he'll give you an answer straight up and say, well, these are the things that could be wrong, and you believe what they say. You don't know.
And I guess if you ask for help and you get the right answer, then people will come back to you for more help and you'll give them more right answers. So I guess people need to work out themselves from the advice they get, whether it's good or bad advice. And then you don't need to ask 50 people to get 50 different answers. You normally ask one or two people who give you the right information and get the answer you need, and I've certainly found that this time around with monitors needing help. So asking people who give me the exact perfect answer is a lot easier.
Yeah. What's that noise?
That's my wife, who I tell to go away, but wants to come into the room and talk on the phone near me. So I will throw her a brand new shoe at her. I'd take this little shoe that she loves so much.
Oh, there it is.
Ready just to launch at her in a second when she turns around and say,
do you have a pen? You could always write a message on it and hold it up to the screen.
Yeah. I'm going to write on wife, shut up, please. And send it by email.
Hey, well, it is 10.
Mail.
It is 10:30. It is 10:30. Look, well, I'll close it off because there's a couple of things I just want to. So, for the next month, I just wanted to give the roster. So tomorrow at 11 o'clock, June the 6th, we're talking the international event between us and Morelia Python Radio. The Aussies are going up against the Americans. We're talking differences in the way we do things. The Smackdown, yeah. There's going to be a few bloody noses running around here. It's going to be peaceful. It will be peaceful. And then next Friday, we've got Darren Boswell on the show. We'll talk a little bit about the history. He did a lot of stuff. We'll be talking carpets, lots of carpets.
Trees, cool things.
Then the 19th of June, we've got Dr. We're changing it up a bit. We're talking, Darren's gotten his good mate, Jonathan Howard, Dr. Jonathan Howard on the show. We're talking beardies. We're talking beardy meat. We're talking.
Johnny's a top bloke. I've been mates with Johnny for decades.
The entry level of reptile keeper animal beardies. They are the most popular reptile in the world. I don't know. They could be up there with crested geckos. Could be up there with them. But I know that at one stage, 1 in 3 households had a bearded dragon across the world. That's how popular they are, and they are. I mean, we all kept it. Brent's kept a beardy. Have you still got the beardy?
Yeah, Harrison still has a pygmy beardy in his bedroom right now.
Yeah, so
Henry Lawson,
everybody loves a beardy. So we'll talk about that because I've got some interesting. I'm interested to pick Jonathan's head on, wild habitat, like because he does a lot of research. He does a lot of.
Chewing your shoe.
He does
I was up there. My dog was not eating my fucking Tommy.
Take your shoe and go away.
Language. This is a children-friendly show, please. Come on.
He
upset because the dog was eating it for real.
Oh shit! Jonathan's doing a lot of field research on bearded dragons, and it's always interesting to understand how they live because they live in the same range as carpet. There's snakes that live in that same territory that we like. There's carpet pythons in those ranges, like Bradley occur in those range. Do they?
Yeah, Murray's as well, depending on the region you're looking at for.
And it's
quite a large range.
And they're a great food source for all the snakes that we like. So, but I
yum 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 yum.
I want to really touch on. Can you keep them on sand? The big age-old discussion,
Only if you wash them every day.
Yeah. Do they become impacted? Yeah. Do they become impacted? Can they drink water through their skins? All this garbage that we hear on the internet about bearded dragons that we all, that there seems to be a whole bunch of confusion about it. So we'll be going that will be going across all the platforms that I've got, the Reptile News, all the pages that I've got. Then On the 26th, we've got Faye. The lovely Faye is coming on board. We'll have a chat to her about it. And then on the first week, I think it's the 3rd of June. Is it the 3rd of June? The 3rd of June, we've got, I'm going to say it, and then it's going to happen. So the 3rd of June, we're having an Antaresia roundtable with Colin Ray, David Evans, and Mari Buhaja. And we'll talk a little bit about the Antaresia morphs. Have a little roundtable, powwow. Go delve a little bit into the different mutations, the issues, the good stuff, the bad stuff. If there's any bad stuff. And I think that might be changing it up a bit from the carpet python round. We'll have to work in one as well at some stage again. But let's get this show over tomorrow first. Let's show the Americans how it's done, and then remember, I'll be neutral. So I'm not in anybody's corner tomorrow.
Switzerland.
I have diplomatic immunity. So
diplomatic community.
Yep. So thank you guys. We'll call it a night.
Thanks.
I'll get in touch with you a little bit earlier tomorrow. Yeah, July. Sorry. The 3rd of July. And by the way, tomorrow would have been Carpet Fest.
Oh,
wow.
So it all came together well. We'll definitely, Eldon, I was talking to them. We'll talk about it tomorrow. We'll talk about Carpet Fest tomorrow. We'll discuss that and see,
those boys need to come out for Carpet Fest.
Yeah, I know.
For sure. They're the founders.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good thing to have them around, especially when they Australia trips up in the air now. Why not a better time to arrange a visit to Victoria or wherever we hold it next year? I think it will be a local. We've all sort of agreed on that. And thanks again, guys, for coming on at a short notice.
Yep.
Darren, good luck with all your millions of snakes. Brent, good luck with whatever you're going to go and do now.
500,000 snakes.
Yes.
Probably sleep time, I think.
You need to be fresh.
Yep, ready for the war, the showdown tomorrow.
Hey guys, thanks a lot. I'm just gonna cut out here to the other screen, and then I'll hang on for 2 seconds. I just want to say goodbye here, and then I'll get back to you. Okay, so thank you guys for another nice night nice night. What am I doing? Amateur hour. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 11 o'clock sharp. Maybe a little bit earlier. We'll start a little bit earlier, and then we'll see how we go with the show. I think it's a first. It's a first for us hosting a show with a couple of cool American guys. Have a good night, and see you tomorrow.